right, everybody. Welcome to the Thursday Night Forum. Arsenal Fan Circle. Pull up a chair. You're all welcome here. And, tonight, tonight is the night after, the night before, right, where Arsenal have exited the Champions League at the semi-final stage. And this is where gooners around the world will decide if they're going to stick or twist on the regime at Arsenal. We'll talk about it tonight. Lonzo, welcome. How are you doing, Lonzo?
Yeah, I'm alright. Hello everyone in the chat. It's Gunner so far. Hello Tony, hello Stan, hello Ray. Yeah, I'm alright. Just a little frustrated. But I'm sure we'll talk about that tonight. But yeah, a little discouraged about how we went about it yesterday. But yeah, all in all, I'm alright.
Yeah. Stan, welcome. How are you doing?
Well, as I said in the green room, we've got a new pope, man. We've got a new pope. What's not to like? You know what I'm saying?
How does that help Arsenal, Stan?
No, it doesn't, does it really? But
pray more.
I mean, obviously, I'm disappointed. It's the one trophy that I've always wanted us to get under our belt, and we got very close. And I'm sure we'll get into the reasons why and wherefore a little bit later. But yeah, I'm obviously disappointed that we didn't get any further in the semi-final. And I'll elaborate a little bit more when we get into it. But all right, everyone in the chat box, BX Gunner, Miss Molina's turned up as well. Canterbury Goon has popped in. And yeah, good to be here with Alonso, Tony, and Raimundo.
BX Gunner, greetings, everyone. Thanks for being here, BX Gunner. Arteta, Jover, and our Odegaard can move on at the end of the season. So, listen, it's how you feel, right? We're all going to feel different ways.
I've not even got my seat warm yet. We're getting straight in there.
BX is going straight for it.
It's going to be one of those shows.
Hello, Miss Molina. Good evening. Hope everybody's doing well. And we're going to get to Tony. Don't worry, Tony. We're going to get to you. You muted yourself, Tony. I did not do that to you. Riddy, welcome. Hope you can stick around with us for a while. I know the time is prohibitive to the people in the UK, and I always appreciate when you do tune in. Tony, good evening.
Good evening, Ray. I was going to say that BX had his branding iron out, blowtorch to it. He was ready and just stuck it on there. But he's completely wrong about Odegaard, and that will be explained later, I think.
He's wrong about him how?
He wants him to go bye-bye. He's wrong.
Okay. He wants to go. I don't really know where you're getting at.
This is just a good evening bit, Tony.
I know, but Ray's wanted me to elaborate.
Okay.
So, Ray, he scored 15 goals his first full season. Started the first 6 months of his permanent deal, not so good. Then he got really good. Loan, he was great. Last year, not so great because he's a box-to-box midfielder now. Has to play defense because the guy likes attacking fullbacks, so he has to be a makeshift left back. Same with Saka, has to be a makeshift number 8.
Your sound's coming in and out.
I don't know, it doesn't. Maybe the changes.
All right, well, we'll carry on while you're trying to figure that one out. Alonso, listen, we're going to talk about a lot of things about, Mikel Arteta. We're going to talk about the fan base. But let's talk briefly about the game and the chances we had in the first few minutes.
Well, can I just say before we get to that, was everybody happy with the lineup? I mean, yes, you can have hindsight, but taking hindsight out of it, when you went on your phone an hour before the game and you saw the lineup, was you like, yeah, okay, that's what I want? Mm-hmm. Or was there anything that was missing?
Yep. No, for me, I wanted Mikel Merino back up top because we've been playing with Trossard up front, and I just didn't think he had enough presence in the first leg of the game, leg of this tie. Wanted Thomas Partey back. A lot of people feel we missed him in the first leg, the first game. And other than that, we had Timber and we had Miles Lewis Kelly. I think we had the strongest team that we could have put out there. There was a big question mark over Odegaard, but do you make a big change in a huge semifinal with regards to Martin Odegaard at this stage? So I was happy enough with the lineup. Now, throughout the game, I became more frustrated with Martinelli in particular as well.
With who?
Gabriel Martinelli.
Okay. Why?
We know who he is now. We know what he does.
Why? Why was you getting frustrated with him? What was he doing that you didn't look?
He's
That
just
was frustrating
he
you?
just doesn't. He's not direct enough, Stan. He goes down into these blind alleys again, and he gets lost, and he can't. All he can do is follow the ball back.
King. Is he like the cul-de-sac king?
Cul-de-sac king, yeah. He doesn't really go for the throw to the opponent anymore. Something's missing in his game. It's confidence. It's lack of finishing. And he was one of those players in the first 7-8 minutes that missed a gilt-edged chance.
You said something there that there's this one word that people use in analysis, whether it's us pundits or whatever, that just drives me mad, right? And that is a lack of confidence, right? Now let's look at the player specifically in Gabriel Martinelli, right? He's got a first squad team number on his back. He's not playing at 57. He's a number 11. He's probably the first pick for that position. He's considered a starter. There's no contract disputes. He's getting paid a nice wage. I think it's like 180 pounds a week, in and around there.
Mm-hmm.
Why is he lacking confidence? He's getting the backing of the manager. I mean, I don't understand why, unless he's got something going on in his private life. But what is it about the game? Why would he be lacking in confidence? The manager's backing him.
In the duels up against the.
So you're saying that he's not believing in his own talents up against other players. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I don't think he believes. Yeah, I think he loses a duel early on, and he decides not to continue to attack the fullback.
Right. So when you say lacking in confidence, you mean in actually his ability to do something, like he's running down. There's a couple of players, and then he's lacking in the confidence to. Like, did you see the move that Vintinha did when he did something similar, and he kind of like dribbled past like 2 or 3 players in the box on the byline?
Yeah.
Did you see that? You mean like he hasn't got the confidence to do that and pull it off? Okay, I get it now. When you say okay, you've helped me, because I always thought when people say lacking in confidence, that's even like before they get onto the pitch. They're just like, oh, fucking hell.
Well, you know when you go one-on-one against your opponent and you lose the first couple of challenges, and maybe the guy cleans you out, he goes right through you, and you end up on the ground, and then you're like, well, I'm not getting anything out of this guy. And then you start to rely on the link-up play. You go infield, you go backward.
He's obviously got a poor mentality, because all the other things that I mentioned, he's got a lot going for him, right? He's not finding his way into the team. He's not being snubbed. He's getting picked. He's in a good team. He's got good money. He lives in a nice place. Do you know what I mean? So he's got everything going for him. Why is he not got the mental ability to believe in? Do you know what I'm getting at? And Canterbury, really says has he reached his ceiling? And this is something I've mentioned a few times, because you have to remember, when we bought him from a Brazilian team in like the 4th division, like a regional team in Inacio or Garcia or something like that, because I work with a guy from Brazil. We didn't buy him from like the Brazilian 1st division. He come like basically like Conference League, if it was in England, maybe a division above, right, in and around there. And maybe what Riddy's saying there, and something that I have also thought about, has he already now plateaued? He's done well to get to this level, hasn't he? To get to the Premier League from a division so low. But is he not a top-tier Premier League player? Do you see what I'm getting at? He's maybe reached his level and plateaued. I became about that.
I became frustrated with him last night, and we waited so long for Trossard to come onto the field, and we were already losing the game at that point, and Trossard helped to stem the tide and turn the tide a little bit. let's take that question to Alonso. Though, Alonso, were you happy with that lineup? As Stan was asking.
Um, no, I mean, of course, Mega Arteta's and Cellulose what got me there, right? And you know, it worked for a little bit, but we were lacking something in the. We started the game very well, right? So, of course, we had a lot of momentum. Martinelli started off really good. I thought, Martinelli can drive, and not go anywhere, but sometimes he has tricks up his sleeve where the defender can get lost and all that. And I felt that he could have took advantage of Hakimi's weaknesses, and I kind of thought that he could have done more in possession. Um, Marino scored some goals against Real Madrid, or at least was very active against Real Madrid, right?
Yeah.
And you didn't see that from him. Uh, Saka didn't score till very late. Odegaard had, I think, a couple of chances. One chance was from a long range shot. So,
Yeah.
In hindsight, if they make those shots, we could have been right. But it was a strong lineup, and I don't think Arteta was going to shy away from that. I think the reason why he saw Moreno start in midfield last time is because Hardhill was out due to suspension, so that forced Hazard to be up front. Um,
Yep.
all these things are in hindsight, right? You think second thoughts what could have been had Hazard started on the left. But who knows? It's unfair to look in the past and say what if, because we will be playing that game all night long. I thought Rice was strong, but anyway, that being said, it was a lineup that would got them there, and I had no issues with that. I'm sure we'll discuss what went wrong. Um, anyway, it's just tough to handle. It's just tough to talk about because I honestly thought we could have done something in Paris, but at the end of the day, we just didn't have enough.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly right, Alonso. I thought last night was all about who was going to score. Who's going to score that first goal? Get a goal early doors against Paris. The crowd will get nervous because they've exited at the semi-final stage for a few seasons now. They've had a few wobbles here and there, but ultimately Arsenal weren't able to mount that challenge. I was going to go to Tony and ask him a similar question, but I'll get through some of the comments first. Brady said all talk pre-game, but when it matters the most, we lack the killer.
Hold on, I'm coming.
Hold on. I hope Arsenal fans refuse the guard of honor on Sunday and show some balls like Rangers did to Celtic. Well, that's a big rivalry. We're too much of a nice guy.
If I was an Arsenal player at that moment when when they go on the field and have to do that guard of honor. Unfortunately, that would be the moment that last night's Curry would be playing up, and I'd have to go to the toilet for at least like 6-7 minutes. And unfortunately, missed taking part in the guard of honor. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I had to be on the toilet. Yeah.
What about that, lads?
I had a situation on the toilet.
Yeah.
It's fun. Martinelli's final third decision making is terrible. Unfortunately, BX Gunner. Tony usually goes very early with some takes, and he went early with the Martinelli being sold take. I think he did it around November or October. But as with Tony,
I did it last year.
Long enough with Tony.
That was last year, Ray. That was last year, not this year.
Yeah, last year was November. I said November.
No, but last season.
No, you can't. Tony, were you happy with the lineup?
No.
There we go.
There's things you guys are missing there. They had two players that played on this weekend on their team. We had two players that didn't play on the weekend.
Okay.
So 9 of our players played this weekend. 2 of their players played this weekend. So it's either you got the Bournemouth wrong or you got PSG. You can give and take. Trossard should have started. You seen his impact as soon as he got on there. What did he do? He's got the vision to do that stuff. stuff that Martinelli can't do. And also,
Yeah,
the formation was totally screwed when you're attacking with 8 players. You're only keeping your 2 center backs back there. You might as well go with the back 3. Berta loves his fullback. Did you notice how many times they were past their back line? Our fullbacks? Didn't that happen? Didn't be able to burn this person up the pitch.
Can I say something to that, Tony?
Yep.
Look at the starting lineup, right? And then pick me 9 players that you could replace 9 players with. Where have we got 9 players to put into that team?
on the bench.
We haven't.
Yeah, but that's where you
Name me 9 players then. Look at our squad and take out 9. Put another 9 in. We're going to be fielding like Odeji and all that.
We could have did that on the weekend, Saturday.
We literally had what? Ben White,
Tierney,
Sterling. Yeah,
Sanko.
great. Yeah, Sterling. Do you know what I mean? Winari. Who else? Maybe Calafiori. Was he back?
Yeah, Calafiori came on. You know,
Didn't
so those are the kinds of players. We had some fullbacks.
And I'm struggling here.
Yeah, we had some fullbacks. Maybe
I'm looking at the goal to try and get to 9. I'm looking at goalkeepers now. I'm like, okay, could be. I can't make 9. That's where we are. That's the problem. And some of that is down to injury, but not all of it. Not all of it. Not all of it. We've had a small squad for way too long.
Yeah.
We've had a squad way too long. Mikel Arteta, on the one hand, says, I really like having a small squad. And then halfway through the season, he'll tell you, our squad's too small. And it's like, well, which is it? Which is it?
Then there was a season where he said the squad was too big. Then it got too small. Then it was all right. And now it's too small again this year. And you do that, you have to incorporate the young players. You see that Scaly and O'Reilly from the start of this season.
That's better now. Your volume's better. Keep it like that.
So they were ready to go. They should have been played last year. So then you could have brought in some more kids from the academy. But you can't. We need 8 to 10 players.
Okay,
and you're not gonna get that by signing. You could get there if you tried signing some free agents and getting some of the graduating 21, 22-year-olds from other teams, which Arsenal were rumored to do a few months ago. That's what they're looking at PSG's academy and stuff like that. Like NAB, people from there.
I think we're. If you're talking about looking at other teams' academies and trying to rape them and pillage and take some of their startlets away, I don't mind that for padding out of the way. But we're at the stage now that if we want to win the league and the Champions League, which are the 2 big ones, every time we buy a player, it should be for looking at the first team, and they should be a best-in-class player. Otherwise, you're just going to finish second. Or get to the semi-final. What I'm saying is, right, you're going to buy a striker. Sesko's a prospect. Sesko's is an up and coming. That's great. But if you want to win shit now, and because you're tired of Man City winning it every year, and now we've let Liverpool just like slide in front of us and nick one like that. Remember that season when Leicester won? I was probably more pissed off about that season than I'm about this season because we should have won that league.
Yep.
So if you want to get to that, then as much as some of you are out there going Sesko, if you want to do shit now, then it has to be either an Isak or Gyökeres. One of them two. You have to be buying best in class. If you want to get a young kid in or whatever, then they've got to be someone that might even go out on loan, might get a sniff at a Carabao Cup, but you shouldn't be thinking about playing him against Crystal Palace
Well,
because you want to get all 3 of those points. Do you know what I
think
mean?
about this. Yeah.
Like we've had days of buying players like Marquinhos, they're over unless you can put them straight out on loan and there's a long term project for them. But you
Think
should
about
be
this,
buying best in
folks.
class like we did with Rice. That's where
Yeah.
we should be if you want to win those big trophies. If not,
Think,
then we're runners up.
here we are. We're in the run. We're in the runners up position in 3 competitions this season. Runners up. I mean, we didn't get to the final in Champions League, right? We didn't get to the final of the Carabao Cup, and we came second. We're going to come second in the league. I'm quite confident we'll finish second in the league. But that's another for a little bit later, right? But we've missed gilt-edged chances. We've missed them in the Carabao Cup final with Havertz and Martinelli and Odegaard over those 2 games, and we've missed chances with Martinelli and Trossard in the first game, and in this game, Declan Rice with the header, Odegaard with that great shot. It was a brilliant save from Donnarumma, and Martinelli another shot. So in the first 10 minutes, we could have been 2-0 up, as I think BX Gunner said. First 20 minutes, we should have been 2 goals up. And when you don't take your chances at the highest level against one of the best teams in Europe, you're going to get punished away from home. And especially, as Miss Molina said, game management in the first game also cost us, and Partey getting that yellow card before that game. So that's an indiscipline in the Real Madrid game that was done and dusted. Second leg finished, done and dusted, and Partey gets drawn into an altercation and a yellow card. When we've had all of these issues with injuries within the squad, and as Stan said, the squad being small enough as it is, we can't have injuries, and something has to change this summer, because as Arsenal fans, we're all frustrated that we didn't get over the line, particularly in the league. I can look at Champions League and say each and every team that wins the Champions League has been there for 4 or 5 years, has had disappointments in semifinals, quarterfinals, and the final itself. But eventually, if you stay in that competition, as the title of the podcast is here, got to be in it to win it. You will eventually win it. But you got to go and buy a striker like Haaland was bought for Man City. Tony.
Don't you remember me saying that, right? 2019?
Yep.
Spurs finished 1 point ahead of us. And they go
You got to be in it to win it, right, Tony?
They go to the finals of the Champions League. That season, we were pretty much a draw between the difference of us and them.
Yeah. And look,
so, and now it's different, because you're not gonna have those Cinderellas getting to the quarterfinals, because you got this league format where the top teams are to come out on top. That's why they wanted a higher cut of the percentage. And this is a Champions League capitalized, because it's a league. The playoff at the end of it.
Yeah.
It's like American sport, because
I've enjoyed the format.
Basketball, hockey,
yeah.
You sit there 2 months of your season is playoffs.
I've enjoyed the format of the Champions League this year. I've enjoyed the format of it.
Yeah, but everybody didn't want this, right? Because they didn't fucking understand that the European Super League was exactly this.
Yeah. Really said, why did he score against Madrid away? Talking about Martinelli here, because we were already through it, and he knew it wouldn't matter if he had missed. And that was an injury time winner. Great goal. But again, he was pretty confident when he was going to go through. He didn't have to be the fullback in the corner. Maybe we need to alter the way we work Martinelli and have him play through the middle more often. But I'm of the mind that we should cut our losses with Martinelli, and maybe if Andrea Berta is interested in selling him, be done with it and upgrade in that position.
Question.
We need 30.
You want to get rid of Martinelli? Do you mean get rid, or can he still play a part as a squad player?
Red. I don't think he's
Wow.
good enough. And you know what? Our record transfer is something like what, 40 million? Only 40 million? Was Chamberlain maybe? And you know, we should be selling for higher at
We've
this
had a
point.
couple at the 40 now.
And we don't sell very well at all. I'm going to come to you, Alonso. BX Gunner, he scores on most one-on-ones. Let me get caught up in the chat. The club did not manage the first game well at all, on and off the field. We could do a better TIFO. The four of us could do a better TIFO than what was presented last week. Hopefully, Berta has submitted a short list of candidates to replace Arteta, and after this calamity of a season, and Balag has come out and said that Berta will have the same level of importance as Mikel Arteta has.
Who said that?
Balag, Guillem Balag. I said they will have an equal footing. They will work together in identifying the targets. So we do hope that Berta will be tapping on Mikel Arteta's shoulder a lot harder this season. I want to go around the house as well, and we'll get back into the game a little bit. But Alonso, I'm going to go with you first. Do you think it's right to blame Mikel Arteta for what's happened this season?
I don't think so. I think, given the fact that we've had injuries to important players, I don't think that's his fault by long shot. I think that he's been kind of dealt the wrong hands. Now, that being said, I don't know if the transfer window is all his fault either. Maybe he was told differently. Who knows? But that hasn't been public. However, it's up to the players to perform. I don't know. I don't know why fans or supporters tend to blame the manager for the team's performance. I always been the thing. I always thought that it was up to the players to play, no matter what happens. It's up to Arteta to motivate them, and to sort it out at halftime and be more aggressive. And I don't think the players have it in them. I think some of them are too easy to give up when they're down. I don't know what's going on, but I think it's kind of unfair to blame a manager after all the injuries he's had this year. But I think it's up to him to deal with that and just rally the troops when they're down. But who knows? But I think it's kind of unfair to blame him, all the problems on him, whenever there is on the players to do something and to make it worthwhile. Like I told Turner earlier, I don't know what's going on with Odegaard, but I think the best players performing in Europe won it all and leave it all on the line. And when I watch Arsenal, I watch Odegaard and I watch Rice. And I see Rice running nonstop to make the things happen. And I don't see that from Odegaard. He may be hurt. There are reports that he is hurt, and that's his sin. And if that's the case, I think that's up to Arteta to make changes at the appropriate time. And I think that has to have that changes goes down to him. And unfortunately, he doesn't have the guts to do that kind of substituting, and that's a problem. I think if you're gonna make the conversation worthwhile, you gotta take things up sometimes. And I think that's where Arteta's weakness is.
Brings us back to that phrase again, doesn't it? In-game management.
Yeah.
Which Mel Rose is, sounds like we're going there again, right?
So yeah, let's expand on some of that. Alonso brought some great points there. In-game management, Stan, poor substitutions, and I rather liked Arteta when he was starting out on this Arsenal journey. He didn't really say too much to the media, didn't give them too many bullets to shoot back at Arsenal, but he's starting to do a little bit more, too much in terms of that, like
Now it's cannonballs, right? Not
the
bullets.
Teta ball. Yeah,
Cannonballs, cannon.
Your original
Cannonball.
question was, do I feel that Arteta is responsible for our failings this season, or there or thereabouts? Is that what you're asking? Well, as you know, I'm never one of those that's either Arteta in or Arteta out hashtag. You know, I use my percentage scale, if you remember. You know, I use a percentage scale of justice. It's a percentage. And where I am at the moment on Mikel Arteta is I'm at 70 40.
70-40.
Sorry, 60-40. Yeah, 60%. We're not 50. We're not. I was at 50-50 for a little while, but I've gone. I'm 60% being. I'm not happy, and I would say that if we get to the end of the season and we finish lower than second place, that barometer, that needle, if you will, is going to move again.
Another 5 digits.
You know, and into the negative.
What if we drop
We won't be moving
4?
into the positive. I can tell you that. We will be moving more into the negative, right?
Yeah.
But to answer your question, hold on, Tony. Can I
hold on a second.
Raise question.
You got a pen? Write your thoughts down, Tony.
To say, do I blame him for this season? I think that the blame for our failings, because we have failed, we're not going to win the league. We're not going to win the Champions League. So, you know, it can be placed at little baskets of fault can be placed in little places. There's definitely a basket that can be placed at Mikel Arteta's feet, because there's people in the chat like Mel and also Alonso here, the game management. Some of the in-game management has just been poor. You know what I mean? What is, you know, you're chasing a game, you're on a hide into nothing, and then you make a substitution, and your first substitution is fullback for fullback. Yeah. And there's no injury. There's nothing like that going on. And then it's 5 minutes to go, and that's when you want to sort of like do something in a more attacking vein, and then bring on someone who's chomping at the bit and has no fucks in the world to give in Waneri. And you've got another player, which I'm sure we're going to talk about in more detail. All right, Gary, just want to say good evening. In our captain, who, you know, we've got to this stage now, even those people that really like the guy, which I do, are saying we've got a problem. You know, we need to do something. This needs to be addressed. You know, I know we're going to talk about that in more detail. So the in-game management part, it does, you know, there's a basket there of blame to be laid at his feet. But then you look at, well, why didn't we do nothing in January? Why didn't we strengthen? That wasn't his fault. The manager was quite vocal that he wanted reinforcements. So that's another basket of fault that gets laid at the feet of the owners, because they failed to act. They failed to back him. You know, so there's a huge basket that goes to the fucking PGMOL, because we've got bookings and sending us for things that even pundits that hated us were going, never seen that before, and I've been in the game for 30 years. You know what I mean? They're looking at really weird things again. This is a new one on me. And they got no favours to grace with Arsenal in the past. So there is a proportion of blame that can be sprinkled about for me of why we failed this season. It's just not laser focused on just one direction. There's all these different areas that fucked it for us. Injuries as well to key players. You know, that's another thing that definitely fucked us as well. Yeah. Losing one striker and then losing the next one as well. You say, "Oh, do me a favour." Your star boy's out. Star boy's out for ages. You know.
Yeah.
So that's how I see. That's where it's all gone wrong. It's just
word has it the PGM MOL are doing an instructional video using Arsenal FC for all of their officiating rules. As addendums. That's word has it, and that's what this book of the whole season has been about. Exhibit A, Arsenal, Declan Rice kicking the ball away. I'll let Gary get settled in a second. I'm going to go to Tony for that question. Tony, a lot of Arsenal fans are laying the blame at Mikel Arteta's feet only, as if we go back and forth in this one when Arsenal don't do well. You know, is it the manager or is it the players? Where do you stand on this one? Tony, does Arteta get all of the blame?
Yes. But first, Stan, come back. Come on, Stan.
What am I surprised?
Stan, if we finish
100%.
I'll wait till he comes back.
A+ for Arteta.
So, Ray, you do remember me saying that playing Gabriel, Saka, 4,000 plus minutes wasn't a very good thing.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, he is to blame because he's rode these same horses for 3-4 seasons. However long they've been here, he's been riding them. No break. Tell me why Saka needs to play in the opening round of the League Cup. Is there a reason, Ray?
No, I believe
playing in the
not a
League
reason.
Cup?
I believe the younger players in that competition get you to a certain point, and then the senior players step in, take over.
But not early round.
No.
No such thing.
Correct. Yeah, I agree with you.
So then you have his trust issues. He's only trusts a certain amount of players. Doesn't trust Laneri. He goes out and scores almost a goal every 90 minutes, but he's not in the team. Odegaard. He's not where he needs to be. When he scored 15 goals, 4-2-3-1. Because he was not behind the striker where he should be. He shouldn't be covering as left back or right back. There's no reason for him to be there. If Arteta wants to play that style of football, like we started off the first 20 minutes yesterday with 2 center backs back there and everybody else up front, there's nobody to protect them. Then you had Saliba's silly mistakes, and I think the Real Madrid's in his head. But Arteta hasn't changed the game management. Like I said, those players needed a rest.
Yeah.
You ended up losing the game anyway on Saturday. So you might as well lose it with some of your backup and some youth players that's been on the team the entire season because they're better than us. And so there you go. You start the season. First thing Gary said, it's been our problem for 3 seasons, is being clinical. That was shown off yesterday. They get a half chance, it's a goal. We get a full chance, Saka kicks it fucking 20 foot over the goalpost. But he's 5 foot away from it.
But that was a difficult chance.
You dive of a ball
He's got to take it.
Chest or head.
He's got to take it, but you're relying on one person to carry the team then. But Saka, is he getting the blame for the result yesterday? When Declan Rice missed, Odegaard had one saved, Martinelli had a scuffed shot saved by Donnarumma, and many are saying that the goalkeeper was the difference in this tie as well.
But both goalkeepers did a fairly good job.
All right, I'm gonna give you the 30-second clock to wind it up, and then we'll go to Gary, Tony.
Odegaard.
There goes a little bit better there. Like I said, he makes substitutions. Usually he'll make one at like 73 for some player. The rest of them's about 81st, 86 in stoppage time. And a lot of times he only uses 2 or 3 subs, which makes no sense.
Right.
So he's rode his terrain. He's ran out of track.
All right, Gary. You got a lot to get stuck into there from Tony, Gary.
Hello there, Ray.
Hello.
Lonzo, Tony, and Stan. Everybody in the chat.
Hi, Gary.
Thanks for joining us. Yeah. All right. Was there a question, or is he just?
Yeah. Listen. A lot of Arsenal fans solely going on their YouTube channels and blaming Mikel Arteta for everything this season. Of course, can't disagree with a lot of what Tony has been saying in terms of playing the same players, the same team, minute after minute after minute, and the substitutions not coming in the 50th or 60th minute, but much, much later than that, Gary.
Yep. Well, I mean, it's it's a perfect storm of everything, and the one person that we know can fix it and should be able to fix it, and if they had maybe another 5 or so years or better support around them, could fix it is Arteta. I mean, we knew. I mean, supposedly he sat on. He's learned some from Wenger. He's learned from Pep. Right,
Yeah.
he's learned from the assistants that
Moyes.
Pep has around him. He's learned from Moyes, and each year he's figuring out little things about his team. So like injury concerns was that should have been he should have known that when Saliba went down and we struggled, right? In terms of substitutions, substitution patterns, he
Yeah.
should have known that from actually just looking at the other teams and what they do. You saw PSG use 3 to 4, maybe even 5 subs in both games,
Mm-hmm.
right? You're like, why are they doing that?
LA.
Why are they doing that?
Correct.
There's reasons why teams do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
After
Tactically.
about 45 minutes, you know whether or not your plan's working. When it's not working, the plan isn't, well, maybe I'll give him another 45 minutes and see if it plays out, right?
Mm.
And you picked all these players. There's got to be some skill set that they provide to you that you can use in pretty much every game, or if not every game, every other game when the scenarios come up, right? If you need scoring, there's somebody on your bench that probably can provide that. That's why we bring up Nweri's name all the time. The biggest struggle we've had since Arteta in the last 3 seasons has been what? Not
Strike.
timely shooting and scoring and clinical striking, all of that. Anything to do with the attack.
Yeah.
We've not answered that in a year now, right? Much less just getting a striker. So a lot of these things, all right, if you don't, as a manager and coach, you know what you need. Why are we getting Moreno and Calafiore when you don't have a striker, when you don't have attackers? Like Trossard and Gabriel Martinelli haven't been doing it for you. You let 4 attackers go, and then you bring in Sterling because he was a good deal late at the last hour. That doesn't sound like a good plan. We supposedly have a book of like
I was like
100.
helping a mate out, Gary.
We have a 180-page book supposedly that we use to do all of our transfer analysis and planning and all of that stuff.
Gary.
And you're telling me in that book there's actually a page that actually said, you know what, if all else fails, break glass and get Sterling. Nah. If I'm a manager, nah. There's no way that's all.
Gary,
There's no way that page is in my book. That page is perfect.
Yeah.
Right.
Gary, that Raheem Sterling thing was
Great glass.
You're a mate of Sterling's, and he's had a disagreement with his girlfriend or his wife, and he's kicked out for a little bit. Everything's going to be okay after a few months, but I'll take you. Come live with me for a bit. That's what happened with Raheem Sterling.
Yeah.
and
I
Mikel
know
Arteta.
I know there's other, every reason that we bring up, in terms of the refereeing and the freak injuries and all that stuff. The only person that can have an answer for it with what we have is Arteta. He has to come up with a plan. So if we are depleted, right? We're depleted, and we have only whatever 12 to 15 players he can pick from. He has to figure out a plan to use those players to get a win. It doesn't matter how. And sometimes that means maybe you have to change your formation, right? If you don't have 4 defenders or, four defenders plus backups, then maybe you go to 3 defenders and then try a different thing, So like for me, everything that's happened this season is called was the adversity course for a manager. Right, what could go wrong will go wrong. Referees
Chapter
hate
5.
you. Injuries.
Yeah.
All that. I mean, it's us suspensions and all this stuff. All of that he got it all in one season. A lot of managers get about 10 years plus and they have answers. He got it all in one, but this is the job he took. He has to learn fast. Why? Because he's at Arsenal. You don't come to Arsenal just to learn for 10 years like other managers. Like he gets compared to all these other managers with 10 plus years experience. Why? Because he came to a big club, and that's how you get compared. Slot came to Liverpool with almost 10 years experience. You think he hasn't learned anything? They didn't even get him many players, and he said, "Yeah, I'll take what you got. I know it's a better squad than what we've got, but we had the money to go out there and get good players, and we didn't do a good job with that, right? We didn't get the answers to the questions that we've been posing for the last 4 years since Aubameyang's left. Who's your central attacker? Who is that guy? We don't have one, right?
No.
That's a
Aubameyang
question that's a question we've been asking. Who you have with Saka? Who's at the level of Saka on that front line? Still no answer.
Nobody.
Right? All right. Saka goes down. Do we have a legit backup? No. Erdogan goes down. Do we have a legit backup? No. Guess what? It's the same player, but Arteta won't use it that way. You know what I mean? And where he should be that player, but you know what? He won't use him. So he doesn't trust him. So why is he actually on the team?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of things that went wrong this semester, this season. It's like a class, right? It was a course. I told you it's a course.
You're reading the comments, Gary.
Adversity course, and Arteta didn't do a good job. All right,
Professor Gary.
Yeah, well, they're treating it. I mean, it is university for Arteta. He's in his 5th year. This is a 10-year program, right?
Yeah.
So people told us it'll be 10 years before we get back to where we need to be, and a manager with 10 years, we would have already been there, hopefully. So we'll see. But like I said, I know we pick on Arteta, but I think he has to have answers for all the problems that come up, no matter if they're his fault or not. If he has a small squad, then he has to make it work with what he's got. If he loses a player for whatever reason, he has to have an answer. So that's why I think he's the only one that can do it. Nobody else can. We're not getting more players because they decided not to.
You have to fight your inner demons, Mikhail. Listen, I'll answer this question from Reddy. Ray, have you stopped your Sunday shows? I kind of have.
No, Ray, you was in the conclave. I understood. You've been in the conclave choosing a new pope, right?
That's why I stopped it. Yeah. No, I've become a little bit jaded. Because of this season. It's worn me down a little bit. We started this channel with Unai Emery, and we got sucked along with the enthusiasm of Mikel Arteta rising us from mid-table, 8th place finishes. Tony will tell us we missed out on the top 4. We finished 5th, and we were improving. We had a lot of therapy. We had a lot of Arsenal therapy. We were all there for it 4, 5, 6 years ago. The defeats were mounting up. When was the last time we were beaten by a Liverpool or a City or a Chelsea or United? It's been a long time now since that happened. So we got the enthusiasm under Mikel Arteta. We got the air of expectation. Well, it's going to happen sooner or later. It has to happen. And we're going to have now 3 league titles. League not league titles as Arteta said. We're going to have 3 second place finishes, and that leaves a little bit of a sour taste in the mouth. When's it our turn? And we don't want to be, what do you call it? What is it Mr. Tom says? The ones who expect everything. What are those kind of fans again? I forget the term. Entitled. Right? We don't have that entitlement. We don't have that entitlement, but we know the team is maybe good enough in certain parts of the season to win things. So
but
it's hard. It's hard when you have that expectation of winning the league and it didn't pan out and we didn't win games like we should have won. Gary knows. Gary's been saying it. We've lost how many points through winning positions, just through draws. So many points thrown away through draws. So I've become a little bit jaded. And why get interested in having a Sunday show? And listen, we should be doing it for the viewers, maybe, right? But it's hard when you feel that slight disappointment, Stan, from a result like that. You know what I mean? Each and every weekend. And I don't know, Alonso, how you feel about it as well.
Well,
It's been hard this season, right, Alonso?
yeah, but for me, usually this time around, I've been having to work a lot, so I don't get to watch the games in morning times anymore on weekends. But when I do, whenever I do, look at the score, for example, against Bournemouth, it kind of like it makes you mad at work because it's like what went
Losing
wrong?
to Bournemouth, exactly. The
Well,
players just
then
switched
we're,
off.
instead my boss texted me, "Hey, Arsenal blew it again," because he's on break and I'm working. So it's just there's a sour taste. There's a sour taste in my mouth
Oh,
because
wanker.
hey man, he's a good guy. But anyway,
Yeah, it sounds like
yeah,
it.
because he knows I like Arsenal, so he gives me a hard time. But that being said, I mean, look, I rather lose against Chelsea or Tottenham, or even Man United if that gives us 3 wins on the bounce against teams we should beat, right? So it's just kind of tough. I actually wouldn't like to lose against them, but my point being is that we lose to teams that were bad in previous years that we should destroy instead of drawing against them and losing against them. And it's so hard because as a fan, you see this Arsenal team doing so well, and we have a good team, a good squad, a talented squad. Yet we came and score against teams that we should beat, and that's just frustrating.
Yeah.
And like I said before, I'm working now on weekends, so I don't get to see all the games unless it's a big game. And at that point, I'm like upset because we lost a game we should have won. And like you guys were saying that we did it so late where the other team can get back in it and they score a late goal. And it's like what went wrong to where we can't defend later in games. And this all boils down to game management.
Here we go. It's back to
And
that again, isn't it? That's a big
yeah,
theme. Big
and
theme, isn't
so
it?
yeah, I mean we weren't losing because again something went wrong in midfield or our
And
wingers
now,
ain't doing the job now.
yeah.
So
And now there's going to be questions of, we have this wonderful window of amazing players. We've bought a couple of players who are really good. We have some good young players coming through, and we have a star boy in Bukayo Saka. And I believe the window is still open for us, but we better act damn fast. We better go get the players we're talking about in Gyökeres and Gary again, 5, 6, 7 players. The numbers are needed at Arsenal. The numbers of quality to come in are big numbers.
When I first
Half a
started
dozen.
talking to Gary, right, he was like, "Yeah, we need 3 or 4 players."
We need
And
10.
then like time went by, I was like, "Yeah, we need like five or six
No,
players."
you need 5 or 6 legit.
Now it's like 10.
It's been 10 for a while,
Yeah.
and I keep thinking the numbers going down, and then it's 10 again. It's like
Yeah.
it's definitely as
We're-
Ray says, it's a roller coaster, man.
But
Every month, Gary's sending out the Grim Reaper. Yeah, we need more.
Thomas Partey, I tell you, we need a player
Yeah.
to replace Thomas Partey eventually. That midfield, we thought at the start of the season we were set. Thomas Partey, Mikel Merino, Declan Rice, Odegaard. I thought we'd have the best midfield in the
Jorginho
Premier League.
in now.
And what's frustrating with me, I'm getting annoyed because Alonso, you reminded me about Bournemouth, and that's not your fault, Alonso, because you're saying your piece. But those players did not turn up against Bournemouth. They were walking around in a daze, preparing themselves for PSG, and we got 20 minutes. We got 20 minutes at the start of the game against PSG, and we got 15, 20 minutes at the end of the game. In between, we were dominated by PSG. We didn't take our chances again when we needed to.
In a game like that, what you just said with Bournemouth, players walking around, that's when you want your captain to be looking around saying, "Oi, are you taking the piss? We've got a game to win here." Do you know what I mean? That's sort of,
Bournemouth have done the double over us this season.
Maybe you did. No one listened.
Fair play to Bournemouth. That's a club who has done very well, but their attendance is, I think, the lowest in the Premier League. But It is what it is. We drew far too many games. We didn't lose. We've been pretty good defensively. We didn't lose a lot of games.
Do
So
you know what I'm hearing? Do you know what I'm hearing here? Like with what Alonso was saying, Gary, people in the chat. Seems to me that there's a lot of people that don't think that Mikel Arteta is a very good manager. Because we're talking about in-game management is like one of the key moments. When you got that 90 minutes and you've got to sort of like start playing chess and how you motivate the team and how you make your changes. It sounds to me, just in this little snapshot of people here, the panel and the chat box, that there's a lot of people that don't think he's up to that. That he's a bit inept. He's a bit out of depth.
So
that's what I'm hearing. It's a fair comment.
My sense is go and get Gyökeres. Go and get a striker in the summer. Then we'll understand if Mikel Arteta is up to the job or not. Give him a striker.
I don't want to get rid of him. I told you I'm on 70, 60, 40. But I don't understand why when you're in a semi-final, it's not like a league game when you're playing for draws. You're in a semi-final, you change your right back. I mean, what message are you sending out? What are you sending out to your team? What are you sending out to the opposition? I just don't understand moves like that. I mean, it's like, you know.
Alonso, did you put your hand up?
He did after I did.
Alonso.
Yeah, I was having at Tony. Say hello to Tony.
Oh, waving to Tony.
I had my hand up.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
Hey, we glad you guys up together there.
We are friends here. Hey there, Stan. How you doing?
Gary,
friends here.
Gary, will I move you down and put Tony up there?
No,
Gary?
I'm happy where just leave me alone. Don't touch me.
I've got a bromance going on, man.
I don't know what's going on here. Yeah.
Hey,
Tony, will you wave?
I didn't want to be rude, Tony, man.
Tony, were you waving to Alonso or did you have something to say?
I had a question.
Alonso's blushing.
What,
No, it's just funny, Stan.
what were you going to say? Because I have two questions for Stan.
Dude, you can't remember just say what you gotta say, or else you'll forget it. Come on. He's funny. He gives you the mic, and you're like, "No, I don't want it." He starts talking, and you want to take the mic away. Take the mic.
I had a question for Stan. If we finish fourth, where will your meter be?
That's for you, Stan. Your slider board, Stan. We finished fourth. Sliding scale.
Stan's not going to answer. He's just going to smile at you.
Give him a wave, Stan. Go on, give him a wave.
Did he not hear you?
Was there a question?
Yes. He was going to wait for you to answer.
Sorry,
what's going on?
It was my original question.
Sorry, Tony. Tony was speaking. I just signed out.
On your meter, Stan, where will it be if we finish fourth?
Oh, I would be like, if we finished fourth, I would be like, okay, we are now at DEFCON 5. And I'd be like, we're at like 75%. Like I'm done with him. And then what I'm doing there is, right, just to answer that, the one I'm doing there, then I'm going, okay, let's see what we do in the summer. And what we do in the summer could bring that percentage down, or it could go up again. At some point, it could get to 100%, or sometimes it can come back to 50. Do you know what I'm getting at? But but to answer Tony's question, to finish fourth, for me, is backsliding. You know, we've been finishing second, backsliding. And so, then you have to lose points for that, right?
Ready. Yes, Ray. Get Lawrence. Did you ban him? No, we had a Barney back in September. He never came back. He decided to find a podcast more suitable to his thoughts about Arsenal.
Funny enough, if you want to know where he is, he's on the Bruised Banana podcast, because I saw him on there today, funny enough, while I was working. So that's the Bruised Banana podcast. Shout out to them. I think it's Shane Gooner who runs the channel. Seems like a nice person. But Lawrence was on that panel. So if you want Lawrence, go there and fill your boots.
You'll get a lot of negativity over there if you want to go check it out as well,
I was
right?
gonna say something in regards to I know talking about fourth position, fourth
place.
fourth place and stuff, but for me, Arteta is essentially how a parent will give their child kind of an old car that requires a little bit of attention to it.
Yes.
Like you need to change the oils.
Yes.
You need to make sure you listen for the brakes and stuff, and make sure you put gas and all that stuff in it.
Yes.
Arteta's got that, but he's got basically a Lamborghini. Arsenal's like a Lamborghini, I think, right? He's not taking good care of that thing. The man's hitting curbs, right? He's not getting the oil change.
The alignment is going off.
I mean, he's letting anybody in the damn thing. People who smoke. There's ashes on the floor. There's burnt holes in some of the leather seats. And you're like, dude, what's going on? You need to take care of this thing. He's not taking care of Arsenal the way he should. You know what I mean? Not the way he should. And what I think is Berta's come in. He's like, you know what? I'm gonna help you manage this car. Get it right. So he's gonna give him the right pieces. But my problem with that is, what if he can't give Arteta exactly what he needs, which I think is a lot, because he needs Saka-like players all over the pitch. Players that can fit into his thought and plan of how a football team should be playing out there, and can overcome all the restrictions that he puts in. We talk about risk averse. Like the only person that seems on the attacking side that seems to overcome that right now is Saka, and that's because he's pretty much he's tempering on world class type players. So he can fit into whatever and still kind of come out and achieve some sort of a semblance of an attack when he's out there, when he's healthy, right? But there's not that many Sackers out there, right? One that play his style, that can take all the things that Arteta wants out of his players and still perform. Rice, same thing, right? Put Rice in there, he's going to run around like crazy for 90 minutes, right? There's not that many players out there who can do that, and Arteta hasn't figured it out. But if we get a whole bunch of players that fit that mold, will be okay, but I don't think they exist. And my question to Berta is, if you can't give Arteta everything that he needs successful, is Arteta the right person for you? If he's the adult in the room and he's the one that makes the big decisions, right? That's my thought there. That's why I'm Arsenal, and what's good for Arsenal is what I want. If Arteta's good for us, then you better make sure he's got what he wants and what he needs. He might want Sesko, but you know what? He probably needs Gyökeres, right? There's things like that that go on. He might want Havertz, but you know what? There's probably a 60, 70 mil striker that you could get that's probably better for this squad, right?
Mm-hmm.
You might want Calafiori. He's a young up-and-coming attacker, but he's injury-prone. Maybe we'll get you somebody who might be a little bit older, but will be able to play in a Premier League season,
consistent.
Right?
Yeah.
Moreno, old guy. Where do we put him? Hasn't worked out in the midfield, And then these might be players that he picked. These might be players I do pick, but somewhere along the line, he's said yes to that player, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or he's just been given. Either way, Berta is supposed to be better. So, like I said, I think that's, for me,
a lot of work.
That's kind of where I sit on this whole thing, whether Arteta comes back or not, is if they don't think he can get the job done with whoever they bring in, then he might not be the right guy for them. If they feel he can, then you do it. And that's like sitting on the fence, but I think that's where we are right now. We talked about where we come from, how close we are. What if you can't get us across that line?
Yeah.
Right?
And how long? How long do we wait?
We don't. He doesn't have much more time. You're not going to finish second, 4 or 5 years in a row and go, it's all right.
It's all right. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I always talk about like improving from year on year. If we finish second with 2 semifinals. That sounds like an improvement, all right? That is definitely improvement in the results, right? But for me, it's the performances that are key as well. And I think our performances have been poor. And I think that's been a lot on how he's managed the squad. All right.
Yeah.
I think the performances, we may have gotten lucky because teams can't finish their dinner. We may have gotten lucky, because our shots were able to get in, the calls went our way and all that stuff. But at some point the performances have to get better, and we can't like the way we finished off this season. Every other season we're finishing off poor. We can't do that. We need to finish strong because guess what? Seasons are won in all 38 games, not just in the first 30. Unless you're going to do a Liverpool and go out there.
Your consistency will be rewarded.
Just to piggyback off something that Gary was saying there, and when he touched on Andre Berta, my hope is that his influence will be the next time that we're looking at, Mikel Arteta is looking at making an addition to the squad, and let's say, for example, the position is a left back, which is something that we'd love to buy. When he says, you know what, I've seen this really good centre back, and it's like, yeah, and I'm going to buy him and play him at left back, I want Andre Berta to go, Mikel, let's not do that. If it's a left back that you need, I tell you what, why don't we go out and look for a left back? Or, do you know what I mean? We need a player that plays at a number 8, and he's like, yeah, we need someone for a number 8. Now, I've seen this guy, right, who plays at a number 6. However, I believe
could be an 8.
I can play. I want to. If we need a player for a spot, let's buy one of the best players available for that spot. Let's stop having too much fucking ego about ourselves and saying that we can buy the fucking a right winger and we can play him as a fucking defensive midfielder. And I'm being a bit. Do you know what I'm getting at? Let's stop doing that. And we've done it many times, right? Look at Calafiori. Look at Kiwior. 2 players that we know where they're supposed to play, but we know where Mikel Arteta has been trying to play them. And I'd pick those 2 players specifically because I think what happened with Kiwior was he was a left-footed central defender playing in Italy. They saw something that they liked, and then we started playing him as a left-back, which he may have played there a few times and had to cover, but that wasn't really the string to his bow. And what happened in a new country, in a new league? He floundered in that position, and he started to get the shit kicked out of him a little bit online, and Kiwior, and we're not so sure. And then he wasn't able to get really back into the squad in any meaningful way. So much so that there were stories about teams in Italy looking at Kiwior, Arsenal, if they get the right kind of a bid, they'd be quite happy to pay, maybe part ways with Kiwior. And while all of this was going on, what did we go and do? We went out and dropped £42 million on Calafiori. And I think what was going on there was that it was like, okay, we bought Calafiori to do this specific job, and that's play at left back, but also maybe at centre back. It didn't quite work out. Let's do it again with Calafiori. Let's go and spend the £42 million here. And what's happened? It's kind of like flipped on its head because Calafiori is not available when he should be. And Kiwior, we've now seen that if you do play him in his correct position, and he's been covering for mega legs for quite some time now, he hasn't really looked out of place at all.
Yeah,
to me,
not too bad. Not too bad.
He hasn't looked too shabby at all.
Mm-hmm.
We're not looking at that and going, "Oh, fucking hell, mega legs, where are you?" We're like, it's not a glaring problem when we're looking at the problems in our team at the moment. He's getting around doing his business. He's not perfect. But he's certainly not like got a spotlight on him with a red light above going like, this is fucking, And I think what you're going to see happen is I think Calafiori will be the one that will leave before Kiwior. I don't think that Calafiori is going to see his contract out. I don't know how long it is. He won't see his contract out. And I think there's a possibility that Kiwior will probably have his contract extended.
Yeah, I mean, just like my, I guess, one of the guys that I'm in a chat with, basically Calafiori, there have been deals actually out for him. The numbers weren't right for Arsenal, but I think they're talking. So I think a lot of players that you think will be here could be gone. So
we spent.
You know what?
Well, if I may, just one last point to that. And I messaged Ray about this, and I was thinking the other day, it's like we invested £75 million in Calafiori and Teabag. Fabio Vieira. Sorry, Gary, I didn't mean to get you started. But £75 million. And for me, maybe that's the going rate that you would pay for those players in those positions. I'm not a market finance guy, but for me, neither of them have moved the needle. Neither of them have come in, and you're looking like, oh, where's that guy? You know, we need that guy to start. They're not moved the needle for me. So
They've not told you
75 million that could have been
their
spent
starters. Yeah,
in an attacking area, in a more of attacking area, and maybe that would have moved the needle a little bit, and we would be, you know, our season won't be over yet.
We need a player like Mark Overmars. We need a player like Kvaratskhelia, where we came up against last night. I didn't like him. I didn't like his attitude, but that's the attitude of a winner, and the way he was aggressive at the end of the game as well, as PSG got themselves over the line into the final of the Champions League. Tiger and Gunnar said, if January was done properly, we'd be in pole position in the league and Champions League. I think definitely if we'd have gotten some players, I don't think we'd be something like whatever.
There's an argument for the summer before that as well, right? There is an argument for the summer before as well.
Summer before that as well. We wouldn't have been 13 or 14 points, whatever it is, behind Liverpool now. And I want to go to Liverpool and show up there at Anfield and not get beaten, get a result up at Anfield.
Did you hear Mikel Arteta say the other day that he looked at the points and he was saying, like, Liverpool only won the points, they've only won the league on X amount of points. If you look at our points, then we're basically like 2-season Premier League winners. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? I don't see two fucking Premier League extra trophies in our cabinet. What are you going on about, mate?
So what
is mental gymnastics with yourself and just chill out a little. I mean, what are you trying to? The delusion, that is delusion.
I can't defend. I cannot defend the comments.
We were the best team in the Champions League competition. We were the best team over the last 2 legs. You know how I know? This is the best bit. Their bench came and told me.
Yeah, no, mate, no. Just stop.
You mean the players that didn't play?
So the whistle went, and then Iniesta went up to him and went, that was a lucky one, mate. You fucking almost had us there. Oh, well done, mate. You were the best team. I don't know how we managed to get through. I mean, I can't believe it. I mean, do you really think that's what the conversation that went down? No.
And this is where somebody said Mikel Arteta needs to take some accountability. And look, be humble, right? But also be humble in the things you're saying, and don't say some crazy stuff that the media is going to. And rival fans too. Yeah. Tony, yes.
First, as I informed Stan before the last 2 games, key viewer, 20 start, 0 losses for Arsenal.
Until yesterday.
And Bournemouth.
That's what I said before those 2 games.
Okay.
20-0.
Well, your volume's going in and out, so it's lending to your.
It seems like when I tuck my head, you can hear it.
Because when your volume goes in and out, you can literally say that you said things that you didn't say. And you didn't say things that you thought you were going to say. Tony, I love you. But not as much as, Anyway, Cesco will get you top 4, but not the league. It says Canterbury Gunner. Stop trying to copy Pep Califiori. So, Alonso, what do you think of Mikel Arteta's press conferences of late? He's going out of his way to defend this team, and he's looking very cringe, in my opinion, when he's doing that.
Yeah, whenever Arteta does stuff like that, he gives us fans a bad look because this is what people want. This is what people want. Don't want him to say if you're an Arsenal supporter because he'll get attacked by rival coast fans and saying, "Well, you guys are delusional. You guys are he's arrogant, all that stuff." So he may think he's covering himself by saying those things. Maybe he sees it as a sign of weakness if he doesn't say the truth, I guess. I try not to watch interviews like that after losses because what's the point, right? It just gets him more riled up. So at the end of that, I kind of tune him out because I know that there'll be a time where basically it's a bad look for the way he thinks is like not a good look for us fan base. And like I said, rival clubs will think, rival supporters will think that we're like him, and some fans are, let's say, they just read too much onto social media. As it's that era now where they're bandwagon fans and they're too young to understand what it was like to win trophies and all that stuff. But they'll say anything that's on their minds, and I don't know. I really don't like what he has to say. It's just a bunch of rubbish to me.
Can I just say as well? All he had to say was, after many years away, we came back last season and got into the quarterfinals. This season we made it to the semi-finals. I'm really proud of the boys and the improvement that they've made.
Yep.
And everybody at the club is going to do everything that they can. That when we're in the competition again, we will try and improve even more. Something like that. You know what I'm getting at?
Literally has to be
the best team in the... No, you're not, mate. You're not.
He literally has to be the best manager. Cliches. He's got to learn his cliches. He's got to be the best in the business with cliches. This is where he's got to improve.
And I know that because them lot on the other. They told me, so it must be true. It's like, oh come on, man.
Stop, man. Yeah.
I thought
it's rough. It's rough. I don't know. There's a couple of things about Mikel Arteta. I did write some notes. I'm just going to finish off about Mikel Arteta. And listen, I'm generally positive. I've been positive about Mikel Arteta through the years. It is 5 seasons now without a trophy. I think we need to give him, Andrea Berta needs to give him a striker to give us 0.75 more goals, not expected goals, real goals, each and every game. A striker that can score 20, 21 goals in the Premier League. And if we're winning 3-1 or if we're winning 3-0, a referee can mess with us. The PGMOL can do whatever mad shit they want to do, but we win the game 3-2 or we win the game 4-2 with a striker. You know what I mean? And then we can talk about stupid referees and their decisions in the light of a win, not a draw or a loss to Arsenal. So get him the striker. Get him, just for Gary, get him 7 or 8 more players that are top.
No, Gary's on 10. Double figures, mate.
We'd like to see Gary smiling.
Gary's just wants that. I used to see Gary's like, we need a new team. Right? It is what it is. It is what it is.
No,
right? It is what it is.
We definitely. I mean, think about it. Tomiyasu, who knows if he'll be back? Jesus, everybody's talking about he'll be gone.
Tomiyasu. I think Tomiyasu died ages ago, and they just haven't. The club doesn't know how to listen. Someone told me that if you go on the dark web, you can get Tomiyasu body parts. I don't know if that's true, but we're never seeing that guy again. We're not.
No. But think about it. You got Tomiyasu, who's is he? Can we really depend on him? No.
Can we rely on him?
Yeah, Jesus supposedly gone in January. So what's the point of not making sure we have two strikers, right?
That's 2, yeah.
Right. Kirior supposedly might be gone, because teams want him, and we're not going to utilize him the way we want. You can even have
Jorginho.
Jorginho's retiring, or not retiring. You're retiring.
We're listening, aren't we?
Right? So we're like 4 or 5 there.
I wanted to do this exercise.
You got
Part has a contract. We will let him walk out for nothing.
We should re-sign him. So I'm hoping that happens. So I don't expect him to be gone.
Yeah.
One or both of Trossard and Gabriel Martinelli.
He said it.
Pick one, maybe even 2.
Yeah,
because we
both.
So and that's like 7 right there, and then think about the reason why it's 10. Then you've got Tierney done. Well, yeah, Tierney makes you like 8, right? And then you've got players that are coming back. Nelson, Sonogo, whatever. I know I call him Sonogo, but it's not Sonogo.
And,
sorry.
The race drive, 4-1 drive.
I've got like 3 players.
Nuno Tavares coming back to the ground.
So like you got 3 players that are coming back that
Yuki Tsunoda.
They can't play on our team. They can't play on our team. I'm sorry.
Tavares is leaving.
Hasn't Tavares got like the highest assist in the country that he's in, or some shit like that? That was a
And
that's
he
some
was
scoring.
second highest in
Kamara.
Europe. He was second highest in Europe.
Um,
Yeah.
And
No,
that's
like I
Kamara.
said, we got a lot of players we need to bring in because we can't have we had what three we've had for the last month probably two to four academy players on our bench and a goalkeeper. We're not going to play.
Seat warming. Just seat warming.
So what's the you can't have that not with what we are trying to accomplish. So we got a lot of holes we need to fill, and I know for me, Max Dowman, I don't care how old he is, get him
15.
in,
15.
get him into the
Yeah.
squad. All right, get him into the
Young,
squad
man.
because I know he's young, but guess what?
Well,
He's better than everything else.
you mean
he's a better-
Lamal's been
Yeah, let's
playing?
fucking play for 90 minutes and burn the fucker out, man.
I didn't
He'd
say
be
that.
finished by the time he's 17.
I've never said I didn't say that. I'm not going to kill the player, but
You mean Lamal has
you
been
can
playing
more,
for
you can
2
get
years
more out
now.
of him. He's playing. He's playing. He's like a man amongst boys.
Yeah, good
when he's
example, right?
playing out there. So
Yeah. I know he's one of the best, right? But
but
yeah.
He'll be retired by the
Stan,
time he's 21.
Stan, remember who's the youngest player to ever play in the Premier League? He can't make our starting.
Michael Owen.
No worry.
Waneri.
Yeah, Wineri. Yeah, he's the youngest. That's right.
Right. The things. Listen. Things about Mikel Arteta. I think he's a decent manager. I think he's instituted pretty good playing
I
style.
wanted to do
tactics.
Gary's exercise.
He's worked on the fine margins. It's arguable if Arsenal. It's a mute point and arguable if Arsenal's improved over the last few years with fine margins. We've been competitive and we've minimized the amount of losses against the top 6 teams. Negatives for Mikel Arteta, in my point of view, and a lot of you have mentioned this: substitutions, the timing of it, the management of talent has been tricky with Waneri, and that needs to be talked about. I heard somebody say something about, was Waneri late to training, or is there some kind of disciplinary thing against him in recent weeks? We haven't seen much of him.
Wineri. That kind of rhymes, doesn't it?
Yeah, he's been not rotating effectively. But as we mentioned in the media, he's never really liked the media, and his interviews are getting worse and worse. He needs to go back to that book of 5 or 6 comments for every question. I'd have to look at the tape. Arsene Wenger was great at it. I did not see that. I'd have to look at the tape. Both counts for Mikel Arteta, pro and con. Loyalty to players. It's great that he's loyal to players, but it closes the door.
I'm just saying that. I mean, we've already talked about that we have a small squad, but it's like circles within circles. We have a small squad, but he won't even use all of that small squad. He's only using a portion of a squad that's already.
And the biggest thing that we can seize upon now is in a Champions League final, you have to be adventurous. In a Champions League semi-final, you have to be adventurous. And I don't think that we're playing well enough to be adventurous, to go and score goals at PSG. We are not.
If I was Arteta, I would pay a PR company to go on the internet, find every website that's got him. When we signed Raheem Sterling, and he done the press conference, the things that he said that Sterling would bring to the team and why, you just want that shit fucking erased from the internet for everywhere.
And there is a video from Sterling saying you're about to see the best of him this season in an Arsenal shirt. There was that video.
See the worst. Jeez, what happened there?
Arsenal got accused of being PRFC, and you can't deny these things. You want to say, nah, that's not true. But
as slow as he fucking moves, I don't think he could be.
We're pretty good at public relations, Tony. We are pretty good at
it. The guy's making Willian look like a legend, club legend.
So
I'm talking about
building statues of Willian.
Yeah. We have Andrea Berta now, who we hope is going to be influential over Mikel Arteta. But there's a lot of work.
Maybe he's the rudder to the ship, because it's like the ship's been going all over the fucking like. Now, you know what I mean? A rudder and some sails. Excuse me.
Yeah, Alonso, you're going to dip out, so I'll give you a chance to say goodbye.
Yeah. See you guys later.
Yeah.
Yeah, there, guys. I gotta go work early tomorrow morning.
All right,
Yeah, I
buddy.
just want to say, take it easy. I had a fellow friend of mine who passed away this past weekend, and he was an
Right.
Arsenal supporter, so
Gosh, man.
we were sort of game this year in his honor. So it was sad, but he'd be proud of it turned out yesterday. So, anyways, yeah. So
Good luck,
see you guys
Alonso.
later, and see you next
Yeah.
time.
Cheers.
Yeah,
Thanks,
condolences.
Alonso.
Good, pal.
See you guys.
Yeah, look, so the loyalty to players, I think, is a huge thing under Mick. It's probably a negative for me to be too loyal to certain players, closes the doors to other players. Anything else to say, Gary, about Mikel Arteta? We pretty much covered it all.
Yeah, no. I mean, like I said, he's the. If there's one player that can fix it, it's Arteta. If there's one person that can fix the problems, it's Arteta, right? And hopefully Berta helps him out a little bit with that, with getting him the right players. But he's got to get. I mean, I think
Gotta be
I
recruited.
always say you got to get a little bit better every time you go out there, and he's not doing that.
No.
He's getting a little bit worse.
Do you think we have regressed? And I'll go to Tony after you, Gary. Do you think we have regressed?
Yeah, it's performance-wise for me. Everybody's going to say the results look good, but it's the performances that for me, that consistent performance day in, day out, it's not good. Like if you have there's a system of play that you want, but you don't have the right numbers. You need to do something about that. So I think the team has regressed performance-wise. The results might look good. This is like me when Arteta came in and I said, you know what, we're gonna be a better team, but we're probably still we might finish worse than we were the previous season. And that's because we're starting. We have kind of starting over a little bit. We now have to be able to perform like we did this year. In terms of like our defense for me is pretty much solid, but everything else affected us like it has every year actually. So he has to get better at stuff like that. But I think performance-wise, it was pretty poor, and the way he's got these players set to come out to games is poor. They didn't want to be out there for the Bournemouth game. They didn't want to be out there for the Crystal Palace. Some of these other games late. Look at all these games. We've won 3 games out of 7.
Yeah, 10.
Right?
I'm like 3 out of 10.
3 out of 10. That's not. You can't. That's
that.
on him. That he's got to get his players up for this.
Is it down to him?
Listen,
I mean, we see
we
see how animated he is in the box. I mean, you can get like a booking or in trouble for coming out of that, your technical area. He's never in it. He's never in his technical area.
Yeah, no, it's definitely on him. All those things that we're talking about because.
But you've got a captain. You've got a captain that's not captaining.
Well, you got a captain who's not healthy. He's not healthy. Supposedly he needs surgery to fix whatever ails him, and we're out here still playing him. Yeah, he's not healthy. Saka's not healthy. Saka doesn't need to put all. Why is Saka playing in Premier League matches when we've got semifinals coming up? You see him out there. You saw him out there playing. After about 60 minutes, he's done. He can't go anymore. But we're forcing him to play an extra 80 minutes in Premier League matches. It's like so that's on him. He's killing his best players, and he's hurting the players that should be getting at least. Neri doesn't have to start over Erdegaard, but he does have to take minutes from him. He doesn't have to start over Saka, but he does have to take minutes from him. You'd
rather see him come on at 60, 65 minutes rather than 85.
Halftime if things are going really bad and you realize, you know what?
Minutes, maybe.
But we have to be able to make subs at halftime. There's got to be a time when, guess what? I asked you to go out there and do this. 45 minutes, you've not given it to me. Out you go. And let somebody who can get a nice warm up and get in the second half. Like somebody should be coming in maybe either at halftime or with 5 minutes left in the half because you're gonna you know what, I'm done with this one. It's not working. He's got to be able to do that. It's tough love, but it's got to be done.
But also as well, what in the youth system, right? What position does Skelly play? Is it like more of a midfield, but kind of defensive?
He plays the midfield, yeah.
Left midfield.
Yeah.
So I don't understand why there's not been times where We've got an abundance of players that can play in the left back. Yeah, you can start Skelly at left back,
Try
but
him.
if you need something else, and he's very good at running with the ball, but he's running with the ball from a deeper position. If he's playing in a higher position and starts running with the ball, he might end up in the box. So I'm getting that because he's starting his runs closer to the fucking goal.
You saw it in the first. You saw it in the first PSG match. We needed somebody ball carriers like Rice and Skelly, and guess what? They were playing more defensively, right?
But then he'll do a change
because of the situations. If you move them up at one position, they wouldn't have been able to do the things they did to us for that first 30 minutes, right?
Mm-hmm.
When the ball went to Skelly, when the ball went to Rice, no problems, right? We just couldn't get it to them because they're playing left back and playing CDM. Like if they're playing one level up, guess what? It relieves all the pressure because nobody else wanted the damn ball. Nobody else could run with the ball, right? So for me, that's on Arteta. He's got to see that. He should know that as soon as he saw it, he should have been instantly like, that's what he should be screaming about. Get the ball to Skelly and Rice. Let's figure this thing out until we calm it down a little bit, right?
Yeah.
But I
Partey screwed us.
Should have been withdrawn. I think in that second he should have been withdrawn because he's done so good up to this point, and he is a young kid. He's playing for England and all of that. But I've always felt that when you're young, consistency is your enemy.
So he's got
a bad one. He had a bad one. The occasion maybe it wasn't working. There's no shame in saying, "Okay, son, He's 18. There's another day."
Think about it. The one reason people say that Nweri shouldn't even be competing with Erdegaard is because he's not ready to take on that responsibility, right? Yeah. So that's on one end of the spectrum, and then you got Skelly, who's like, you know what? I don't have a left back that's better than you, so I'm just going to play you to the death here. No, they got to be a happy. You got to bring them closer together. Skelly doesn't have to play every game at left back, right? Yeah. He doesn't have to play all the 90 minutes either. And in where he doesn't have to get like the last 2 minutes. He came in with 2 minutes left on the clock, down 1 to make a difference. And guess what he did? Guess what he did in those 2 minutes? 7 minutes when you add the extra time. He actually created a chance, right? So here we go. We get to the next game. Skelly, we are down 2 at one point, right? We need to score a goal. Who could somebody on my bench? Is there anybody on my bench that might be able to create for me in a particular situation? Who may not be the moment might not be too big for him? I don't know who that is. But you know what? Oh, wait a second. I think I know who it is. We're gonna take out. Who did we take out in that match? We took out
Timber for White.
We took out Timber for White. There you go. And then you know what? We're going to bring in Trossard because Trossard, he can create.
Trossard came on from Martinelli.
He can create like that. No,
too late for Trossard.
I was just kidding about this. This like for like stuff isn't working, my man. If you want to hold on to a 1-goal lead, what do? You bring on 2 defenders. You take off an attacker, right? If you want to chase a goal, what do? You take off 1 defender, you bring on 2 attackers, right? If you're going to make these types of subs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right, you might get some fresh legs in one position and then top up and top up wherever you need the support. We do like for like. It doesn't change anything. You just have a worse player coming on to try to do better than the one you just took off. When you're taking Rice off in a game, what are you saying? We don't have anybody that can replace Rice. So what are we taking him off for? Either he doesn't play or he plays 90. That's the way it should go at this point in this, and at the end of the season. If he's not, so like I said, that's my thinking. I do have to go. I do need to get up in the morning. I need to. I don't have the job. I have a job, but I need to exercise before I go to work. So. And
still early, Gary. Still early.
I know I could stay on, and then it's like 11 o'clock, and I'm trying to get up at like 5 o'clock, and that doesn't work.
Well, it's 20 past 10 right now.
I'm getting old. I'm getting too old for that stuff, right? I can't. I don't. It's not even that I need to sleep. I need to be like. It takes me a while to wind down after I do these types of things, right?
Mm-hmm.
It'd be an hour before I get to sleep, and then it's
talking about Arsenal.
Just Well, just being up.
You go to bed and you're tossing and turning out. I should have said this.
Well, exactly. And I'm like, I want to. No, I can't do it. I gotta go to sleep. That's kind of how I go. But no, thanks for having me on, Ray.
Yeah, great to have
Tony,
you, Gary.
Stan, it's been good chatting. Alonzo, when he was here, everybody in the chat, have a good night, and I will see you
All right,
guys
Gary.
on the next one. Yeah.
Cheers, mate.
Good night,
Thanks.
Gary.
All right, good
Thanks
night.
for being here.
Yeah.
Yeah, listen, Gary had a good stint there talking about have we regressed? Have we gone backwards? And Stan, you take it next because I know Tony. I know where Tony and I.
I don't like this big square thing. Can you change it? That's it. That's
Yeah,
better.
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't like big
I
square.
put this banner up for Tony.
I hate it when Ray does that. It's like
It's not
But
me.
Here's
Gary
what I wanted
left.
to say. Here's what
didn't
I was
do it.
really itching to say, right?
What?
If anyone is out there and saying, well, you know, and where he's, you know, Weneri is not good enough to come and step in for Odegaard, yeah? How comes he was good enough to start games in place of Saka, and Saka is undoubtedly our better player? If he's big enough to step into the Starboy shoes on the right-hand side,
Yeah.
and he didn't just go in and was a body, he was like, you know, deserving his starts because he was making things happen. He's good enough in some games against maybe a Crystal Palace or a Bournemouth or whatever to say, you know what, Martin? Because I think that we're talking about Martin Odegaard, and I'm a big fan of his. You know, when I knew that we were signing him, I watched these documentaries. There's a couple of documentaries where they started filming this kid from a really small age, filming him like playing football and going through the ranks.
Max Downman age, 15.
And there's a lot of people that, you know, that have been in and around the game of football who talk about Martin Odegaard as like a generational talent that's going to come through. And I was pretty excited. And when we got him on loan, I was thinking, like, are they going to make this permanent? And they did. I was like, and the money that we paid for him, right? We basically paid teabag money for him, right? 35 million. That's what we paid for teabag. Yeah. For those of you that don't know who teabag is, it's been a while, hasn't it? Fabio Vieira. So we're paying Fabio Vieira money. And then in that season when he scored like 15 goals and like 8 assists, something like that, I was thinking to myself, this guy could be like KDB style.
Fuck yeah.
And I'm talking like, when I mean KDB, I'm talking like as that important to Arsenal.
Yeah.
Pulling the strings. Scoring, chipping in with 15 goals.
The edge of the box. Yeah.
And assisting as well. And then and also as well, remember we've seen him score a free kick from a dead ball situation. A good free kick. I can't remember who it was against. But I remember thinking to myself, we've missed one of them.
Yeah.
We've needed one of them.
Burnley,
and so I was all set. And do you remember, those of you that have been with us for a long time, do you remember going back years when I wanted Donny van der Beek when he was at Ajax?
Yep.
How I felt about Donny van der Beek back then was how I kind of was like looking at Odegaard, thinking that all of those kind of what I'm seeing in the attributes like what Donny used to do, he can do all of that and more. But then for whatever reason, the guy is just like fallen off of a cliff. And I think that I want him to be in a situation now where he's trying to work his way back into the team from the bench. There's got to be a time where you can't stop starting the guy, right? And do you know what it makes me think? It's like I've said this on this pod a while. When Hector Bellerin was in our team for a while, there was a time when there was no one else who could come and really at right back. We had Hector Bellerin. Come hell or high water, no matter if he played at a 5 or an 8, we couldn't rotate. And when you're in that situation, when you know that the manager's going to continually pick you because maybe there is no one else, I think you start conning yourself. You're in the middle of the game. You can see that you're having a stinker. You must get to a point where you can see that you're having a stinker, right? But you're a professional. And you're probably saying to yourself, you start to con yourself. You probably start saying, and I'm having a really shit game. But you know what? Next game, I'm going to be much better. I'm going to be better in the next game. And you say that, why? Because you know you're getting picked for the next game. Because you've been picked. Because you've been picked for all those. Hang on, because you've been picked for all those other games. It's a cycle. And he's never been under threat. And Hector Bellerin was in that position. He was never under threat. There was no one. But he does have a threat now. Now you can tweak the formation where you could have a midfield of Thomas. If you're playing a midfield of three, there are combinations. You could have Rice, Jorginho, Mourinho. You could have Rice, Winari,
Skelly.
You could have Party. Do you know what I mean? There are combinations that you can do.
Yeah.
There are combinations that you can do. So he should be working his way in from the bench.
Yeah. All right.
You know.
You ready for those questions? I want to do this. I want to do this with Stan first, just to prove a point. Okay, Stan. I want you to imagine Odegaard when he was scoring 15 goals in that season.
Yeah.
And I want you to describe what part of the pitch you most remember him at in that season scoring the goals.
Obviously, he was high up the pitch, right? But
yeah,
what I'm seeing with him is that shot that he took in the game against PSG. He took that Donnarumma, top keeper.
Yeah,
good save, right?
Yeah.
But why have we not seen him be doing that for a while? Do you know what I mean? In order to get 15 goals, you got to take a shot. You got to shoot. You got to take a shot to try and score.
From where he shot there yesterday, Stan, that's kind of where you remember him when he was scoring 15 goals in a season.
It's not necessarily the position; it's the attitude. He's taking a shot.
Okay.
He's not looking to square it, or he's not looking to do his now overrated trademark lofted pass from the right hand side of the box
to
the back post.
Yeah.
He's try and add some variety to your game.
Now,
you scored 15 goals in the season. You know where the back of the net is. There was a time when you were taking the free kicks and you scored some good ones and weren't far off. Now, why are you not? You're finding yourself in a scoring position, and it's almost like he's going fuck. Who can I pass it to?
When he was scoring those goals, it was just setting up a left foot just left of the penalty spot, a little bit between the penalty spot and the edge of the box.
With both feet.
Yeah, left foot especially, right?
Yeah.
Nowadays, you see him on the right side working angles with White, Timber, and Saka on the right side. He's on the wing almost, trying to pull the strings from, he's a further 10 yards away from where he needs to be.
If his job is to pull the strings, he's not doing that. He's not doing that anymore. And all I'm saying is this, right? I'm not like, fuck him, get him out. I told you, I'm a fan of his. I am a fan of his. And I don't know what it is. I don't know whether it's his diet, because he's had a kid. I don't know any of that stuff. Do you know what I mean? I'm not, I will say this is like, my missus doesn't watch a lot of football. She watches a bit. She knows who the players are. And it was some matches ago that she sat down and watched one with me. And she said, "What's up with Martin Odegaard? He looks like, like undernourished, underweight, like gaunt looking." And I said to her, "Well, he has had a kid, maybe late nights and that." She goes, and she's into like exercise and weight up and weight down and all that. She was basically saying that he looks, gaunt. I don't know what that means. Some of those people are saying that he's carrying an injury. I don't know when a player's injured or not. I'm not a doctor, but I would say that if he is carrying an injury that is resulting in the performances that he's having, I would rather the club just took him out of the action and repaired him, because it's no good for the club continuing with this, and it's no good for him.
Yeah,
and for him.
That may well happen.
If that is the reason that Martin Odegaard has been so poor because they're making him play with like a bad injury, there's. Do you know what I mean? There's more to life than that. Than you know what I'm saying? It's like the guy's injured. Fix him.
And now all we have to play for, if we're playing at all, is a top 2 finish. With 3 or 4 games left in the season, you're gonna maybe see Odegaard take less of a role, maybe in games. If he has that injury, we're gonna see signs of not as many minutes for Odegaard in the final 3 or 4 games.
But you have to remember that this is a club run by the Cronkies, and the Cronkies are looking at the balance books, and they know the difference financially in finishing 2nd, 3rd, or 4th, or even 5th. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's a decent amount of money.
Yeah, it's nice to be in the Champions League, but you get more money in depending on where you are.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
we got 70 odd million for finishing the quarterfinals last season. I don't know what the difference is for semi-finals, but that's more bank, that's more money
Definitely.
coming in.
It's got to be a lot more money in the semifinal, probably. Tony.
It was 90 million at the quarterfinals. So
Yeah, I think Stan, you mentioned 90-some million. It's got to be over 100 million. We need to take that money now and reinvest it into the team to bring in at least 6 high-quality players in the summer and move some of the dross that we have. Martinelli may be one of them as well. Trossard, I was a big fan of Trossard coming to the club, and he's been pretty decent. But has he set the world alight? No, he's not set the world alight. He's not dislodged Martinelli from the first team. Tony, have we regressed this season, or have we progressed?
you can look at our point total, and that tells you we've regressed.
Mm-hmm.
We had a clear shot. I started saying this early in the season. This is like the year Leicester won. But now between second and seventh is 7 points, I think.
Yeah.
And you're probably only 3 teams that score over 70 points.
3 teams over 70 points, is that what you're saying?
Yep.
Yeah.
And it used to be that 74, 75
And
was
listen,
that 4th place.
It's clear, as Stan had said earlier, it's clear Liverpool slid into this situation on the back of playing it really well. The slot has been good. He's come in with experience, but they've not experienced any kind of injuries that have stymied their season. And, I'll take that to the bank with Odegaard's injury, Bukayo Saka's injury,
Yeah, but
Kai
then
Havertz's injury. We suffered a lot this season with injuries. That has disrupted our rhythm this season.
All those are muscle injuries, right?
Yeah.
All of them. So that makes me wonder. Stan hasn't heard me say this before, but are we training too hard? Why are all these players getting muscle injuries?
Yeah.
There's something that we're doing that these guys couldn't be getting the muscle injuries. It's either training or too many minutes during the season or both. But
looks like Stan's doing his research.
I am. I'm coming back. Yeah.
He's checking up on a player as we speak right now.
But can I do the quick? I'll first answer the question, but I think we've regressed because he's making the same mistakes. We've asked and said what he's needed to improve on. This is 3-4 seasons in a row. Trust team of players, player rotation, player management, in-game management, making the substitutions and all that, and he's not improved on. And what I was going to say, one thing I was going to say earlier was that Arteta was originally coach. Then he got promoted to manager.
Yeah.
I think he is a coach. I don't think he is a manager.
Okay.
I think he's only good at being the number 2. I don't think he can be a number 1 unless it's the lesser leagues in Europe. In the Premier League, I don't think he can do it because Kroenke's put all this money into Rice and what we've spent the last 3-4 seasons. And it goes back to this thing that I asked originally. Were the Kroenke spending this money because they believed in Arteta? Or were they spending it to get into this Champions League in this new format where you make more money because they're playing 2 more home games and that revenue is super high from those 2 games?
Yeah. Let's not forget. You're right, Tony, and we talked about this earlier in the season. the extra 2 games in the Champions League, now it compresses your whole campaign to where there's no real rest for players. You have those two. The qualifying went right into late January, which has never been a situation in the Champions League. There's always been a situation where it finishes in December, and then you go into an FA Cup or a Carabao Cup situation for your domestic cups. That has so with Mikel Arteta and Edu or whoever it was deciding to have a smaller, more compact squad and combine that with more fixtures across a full season with a lot of minutes for the bigger players and not enough rotation to where now we're seeing substitutions 70, 75th to 80th minute. It's just taking its toll on the team.
And this goes back to something we were talking about the end of this year and the start of this season, where we were talking about the 7 international breaks and these players getting that extra minutes, and
yeah,
you've seen injuries in that.
Stan's got some content, I think.
I've got some numbers here.
Yeah.
So there you are on that. But go ahead, Stan.
So apparently, in prize money for the Champions League, different qualifications and all factors, I'm looking at one article. They're saying that we've made roughly 97 million.
Mm-hmm. And you get to a semi-final of the Carabao Cup as well. Second place in the Premier League.
And then if you finish, it says how much. I'm looking at another thing. How much prize money will each Premier League team be paid? Well, it says Liverpool are going to get 176.6 million pounds for winning the league.
Yeah.
It says Arsenal, and obviously this must be like if we finish second. The second team will get 173.7 million. So if you look at the difference between 1 and 2, it's not a lot.
No.
It's 3 million.
Yeah.
Well, what's the difference between 2 and 3, Stan?
Huh?
Yeah. 2 and 3, because he's taking
the third one. The third one, which on this chart is, I suppose it's the current league, right? Man City, if it finishes like this, they'd get 167.6. So that's from second place is 173.7. So then it goes to 167.6. And after that, it goes to 164.8.
Wow.
And then after that, it goes to 162.
That's
the top 5. So
between where you want to be.
So between the top 5, the lowest is 162. The highest is 176.5, basically.
Yeah. And that's why every championship team wants to be in the Premier League because of the money. Leeds have got promoted. They will want to be getting themselves established back in the Premier League for the money.
So we've got a lot of money. We've got a lot of money sloshing around. We do.
What do you get for 10th or 12th, Stan?
Okay, let me see if it says that.
You know, like because we're privileged, we should be up in the top 4 every year. But what about lowly Crystal Palace, one of my favorite teams, right? What did they bring in Selhurst Park for a 12th place finish?
No, it doesn't really tell me. Oh, hold on. Yeah, okay. So, what
was that? You're breaking up.
If the league finished today and Manchester United are in 15th place, they would get 16.9 million. According to this.
16 only. Jeez.
And then below them in 16th place is Spurs. They'd get 14 million flat.
All right. That brings us to
basically the team right at the bottom, which in this case is Southampton. It finishes like this. They get 2.8 million.
Jeez. But I think they got a parachute payment, right, for being relegated.
I don't know how that works. This is just like the winnings from the league where you finish.
All right. So
what about Crystal Palace and Brighton at 12th and 10th?
Well, we know in the FA Cup you're going to get
Crystal Palace. If they stopped today, they'd be in 12th place. They'd get 24.5 million.
24.5 million. and
Brighton-
maybe about 30
Brighton would
million for the FA Cup.
Brighton would finish in 10th place and get 31 million.
Wow, it really drops off then from the top
Yeah.
4 or 5 places. It really drops off.
Whereas
You know,
Nottingham Forest would be in a good place. In 6th place, they'd get 42.2 million.
They have a rich owner.
That's a huge,
Yeah.
that's a huge drop off of the.
All right, so listen, let's go into this. We want to talk about this, Stan, as we're moving the
Actually,
needle a little bit.
Actually, I think
right?
this is the wrong chart.
All right, never mind. Stan,
Yeah.
there's been a lot of talk here about, you see it all over Twitter now. I'd rather win the Europa League than play in this Champions League semi-final. I'd rather win the Europa League than, you know. Now, first of all, you have to say you're going to win the Europa League. And secondly, you have to say you're not going to win the Champions League. So BX Gunner says here, we have to watch either Amarim win a bigger trophy than an FA Cup in his first 6 months, or Ange Postecoglou deliver on his promise of winning a trophy in his second season. How can anyone think Arteta is going to win?
I just think that they're different cups. You know,
Of course.
West Ham won the Europa Conference thing. That
I agree with you. Yeah.
That was Declan Rice was the captain and he lifted that trophy. You know,
Yep.
it's like when we won. Was that what was the one that we won? The Cup Winners' Cup.
Cup Winners' Cup.
Yeah, we've won a trophy in Europe.
Yeah.
But we're still not dining at the big table. Yeah, if you're talking about winning trophies in Europe, we dine at the big table. But everybody knows that the real big table is the Champions League.
Yeah.
The only way that you're winning the Champions League is, first of all, you've got to fucking be in it. And the teams that you're talking about, they're not even in it. They're not even in it. Do you know what I mean? So if they win those trophies or whatever, yeah, that's like us winning the Cup Winners' Cup. You know what I'm talking about. That one that we won in Europe. But it wasn't the big one. It wasn't the big one, was it? You know,
No.
it's like saying. It's like saying, like, I won a charity shield.
So
it's kind of like a trophy as such.
It's the levels, right? It's the tier that you're playing. You're playing, if you're in the Europa League, you're playing the 6th and 7th, 5th, 6th, 7th place teams in their respective leagues around Europe.
I look at it this way, right? How can you win the cup of a competition that you're not in? As in, we're not in the Europa League because we're in a competition that's higher than that. And they're not in the Champions League. They're in a competition that's lower than that. Yeah. So if they win that, it doesn't make them better than us. No. You know, it's like they won the championship. It's like if a team wins the championship and gets promoted and Arsenal finish second, is the team that won the championship better than us because they got a trophy and got promoted? We got promoted, you didn't. Yeah, but we play in the fucking Premier League, mate. Yeah. So I'm getting that. It's not the same thing.
No.
Where are they at? They at 14th? Is that where they're at?
They didn't play against the best.
United, yes, are 14th.
Can the team that wins the Europa League turn around and say we're one of the best 4 teams in Europe in 2025? Because they're not. The best 4 teams in Europe is us.
So, but the tough thing about it is
Inter Milan and PSG.
Here's the tough.
The 4 teams that got to the semi-final. Yeah. Doesn't matter if you win that doesn't leapfrog you into that conversation. You're one of the best 4 teams in that smaller league.
Well, here's the tough thing.
But Stan, you're forgetting that gives them a Champions League spot. So sitting where they are, that's a huge boost to them because if you're dealing with 15 million, like I said, they would get in the Premier League, then you have that Champions League money in there.
What I'm saying is it's a trophy, but it's not the trophy. It's like you can win the boxing belt at amateur level, but it's not held in the same regard as the heavyweight championship. They're both titles, and it's a pathway. You know, it's a pathway. If you win the Europa League, you then have an aspiration to be able to compete in the bigger league and try to win that. That's what you're doing. Whereas we're in that. We're not. What we're aspiring to. We're aspiring to win the fucking thing, not to be in it. We're not saying we really want to be in it. We're like, we want to win it.
Yeah.
Do you see the difference?
Yeah. When you're a kid, you're playing outside your house with a football because your team has won a trophy, right? Isn't that what it's all about, though? Winning trophies, even if it is a Europa League, a lower level, lower standard level.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, it's a they want to win that to be able to get to be able to go for the big one, or be involved in the big one. We're already involved in that. We're actually playing to win. We're one of the favourites in the competition, right? We've actually got ourselves to the reputation of, like it or not, whether you like players in the team, don't like players in the team, whether you like this manager, you don't, whether you like the ownership or you don't. Right now, fact, we are in the top 4 teams of Europe because we got to the semi-final of the Champions League. That we're one of the top 4.
And what gives me hope, right?
Not bad at all.
Yeah, exactly. So I said this tonight. I said this tonight. We were rubbing shoulders with the elite of European football this season.
Last season we were in the top 8. Think of it that way. Last season, when we got to, I was like, okay, my football team is one of the top 8 teams in Europe. Not top 10, top 8. I was like, that's not bad. This season, I'm like, fuck, we've halved that. We're now one of the top 4. I'm like, gee, this is a good trajectory.
Be careful,
trajectory. What if next season we're sitting there going, my team's one of the top 2.
Yeah.
I mean, I see this progress, man.
And Tony and I think we talked about this through the years. The situation where this club, Arsenal, needs to be in the Champions League each and every year. Now we've done it for 2 years, right? We got as far as a quarterfinal, as you said, Stan, last year. Now we've progressed within the competition to a semi-final. Our players are experienced,
and we did it the hard way. There was no easy, we beat the holders on the way to. We beat the holders. We beat the best. Up until that match,
5-1 on aggregate.
We were playing up until that match. The 4th best, one of the 4 best teams in 8 best teams in Europe, was going up against the best team in Europe, and we done them in 2 legs convincingly. That's, I mean, come on, give some credit at least. I mean, come on, man.
Teams. So you very rarely win this.
If you watch Formula One, that's like Haas or Williams.
Yeah. Be careful, Stan. You're going to get accused of being an optimistic gooner.
Beating Red Bull.
Be careful.
I mean, come on. You have to, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You have to give that some credit, man. You know?
Tony. Yeah, exactly, Stan. Tony, you got to be in this competition 2, 3, 4 years, 4 seasons in a row before you're going to finally break through and win that competition. Right?
Do you? But you, like I said, you had the Spurs in 2019, 1 point ahead of us in the final. So
I don't want to be a Spurs, because Liverpool went to that final and won easily against Tottenham.
Right. I asked it. I kept asking this season after season. Are they happy with the top 4, or are they supporting Arteta? But here you get to a winter window, seeing where you are in the Champions League. Why don't you spend that money to try to fucking win it?
Because you don't have a sporting director in place.
You can get a deal done, right?
Yeah. And now, should we have done the deal for Ollie Watkins, Tony?
I would have.
Yeah. A recognized striker. Now, Mikel Mourinho did well whilst he played up front for Arsenal this season. But let's not have any delusions about it. He's a midfielder who did well as a striker. Ollie Watkins playing as number 9 for 10, 20 games for Arsenal would have probably scored more goals than Mikel Mourinho.
We could have did the double, right?
We could have done the double.
Yeah.
I mean, I would be a stretch, but maybe today we're talking about going to Anfield. Maybe
Yeah,
today,
they-
if we did that, we're talking about going to Anfield with an opportunity to beat them to go on and win the league.
Gary and me did the math on those draws, and we would have been 1 point ahead of Liverpool if we just won half of those.
Yeah. Which, we drew 5 games last season.
I, I have a question because you haven't been in this conversation because I wasn't here last week.
Yeah.
But you sit here, you get 0 points for a draw. That's kind of why I wanted to do the 0.
You get 1 point for a draw.
Would you rather bust your ass and lose and get 0, or go out and give a half-ass performance and get 1 point?
I'd still rather get 1 point, right?
No, because if you're trying hard, you have more of a chance to get that 3 points.
To win. Okay.
You
I
get
see
to
what you're
do that.
saying. Put the effort in, maybe push more players forward and have a risk of getting caught on the counter attack, but
And
you're trying to win 3 points. And you
so
will
if
win
you-
3 points.
So we're at 13 draws, right? Right.
13 draws. And if we take
So
6
if
of them,
So that's
that's 12 points.
12 points.
And how far off are we from Liverpool?
And it's actually
15 maybe. So we have an opportunity this weekend to go to Anfield with the title in our own hands, let's say,
and that's
that is
how
the
our
situation.
We've been on for
was
like
playing very poorly.
2 hours.
Very poorly.
we've been on for like 2 hours, and I've not even given you like an overview of the game. And for me, it's like this, right? In a nutshell, it's like obviously I'm disappointed that we didn't get through to the final, but I've been supporting this team so long. I understand that we're not going to win every game, and as much as I hate losing any match, for me it's always about the manner. And I truly believe that over the 2 legs, the players wanted none of that. Oh, they didn't want it. They wanted to get to the final. They just came up against a better team.
But Stan,
In some areas, I mean, some of the saves that Donnarumma pulled off, man.
but
Some of the
Stan,
saves.
I got a question. Do we have enough quality to be? Did we have enough quality?
What I'm saying is that
Finishing.
what I'm saying is what with what we had, they did their best. They may not be up to the level. Obviously, they're not because they didn't win. But what I'm saying is that they tried. They wanted it. They gave their best. The only player that I look at on the field, right, that I saw over the 2 legs, and I could look at them, and I've seen a snapshot of these players now for quite some time. The only player that I could look at and say, that player I know can play better. I've seen him play much better than this. It's Martin Odegaard.
Yeah.
You're not throwing Saliba
You know what
in
I
there
mean?
too.
Even though we might say that, for example, Gabriel Martinelli might have plateaued, and you want him sold. He wasn't being lazy. He wasn't not trying. He was, you know what I mean? He was working hard and wanted to win the game, but for whatever reason, it's just not good enough. That's basically it's cut and dried. Sometimes you have to be cut and dried, and I'm like, as much as there are players that I like, because I've been watching the team for so long. I mean, I grew up having favourite players. The first player that I can remember ever saying, like, that's a favourite, and use that word, my favourite player. I'm talking about like 8, 9 years old or whatever. Liam Brady. And then from Liam Brady, it went to Graham Ricks. I had a period where I loved Graham Ricks, again, winger. And then Anders Limpar was another one. I loved Anders Limpar. Again, similar position. Paul Merson was another one. Ian Wright. But then, and then obviously, your Bergkamp and Henri, lucky to have 2. But then after that sort of period, I got to the stage where I had picked players that I liked, but I never called any player a favourite because I'm now of the opinion that any Arsenal player in the squad is expendable. I don't care if the management wants to turn around and sell that player, but there is a caveat for me. If you're going to sell that player, make sure that they are replaced, and they're replaced with something better. Because if you're going to sell that player and you're not going to replace it, or if you do replace it, you're going to replace it with something that's inferior, that then tells me that you don't want to win the league, because you wouldn't do that. You're weakening.
That's why we have this
weaken yourself.
squad.
Do you know what I'm getting at?
That's why we have this thin squad, man, because we haven't replaced those guys that have went off and left.
And I want to drive this to an area, because there's been a lot of talk about the Saliba move to Real Madrid. Apparently, you know, if Saliba was going to leave Arsenal, it would only be for Madrid. But how many times do we hear players say that? They all say that. Do you know what I mean? And Madrid are showing an interest. But then on the flip side of the coin,
they've
hold on, Tony, hold on. On the flip side of the coin, we're interested in Rodrigo. And I remember I spoke to you about this before, Ray, about how I heard that for whatever reason I read somewhere ages ago that Mikel Arteta really covets Rodrigo. And you know, Rodrigo at Real Madrid is a player that I think he's overshadowed. He's overshadowed. He plays on the right-hand side. He can play there. But as I understand it, his favoured position and where he does, you know, is better is on the left. But you've got Vinny Jr. on the left. So he ain't getting in there. No. And then obviously now, you know, they bring in Mbappe. He's been overshadowed even more. And Real Madrid do have financial problems at the moment, but they covered Saliba. So online, basically what I'm cutting to, they were talking about, you know, would you sell Saliba, you know, do a swap deal or whatever, or would, you know, even if it's a case of you sell him and then with that money, you buy Rodrigo. And I thought about it and I'm like, you know, I like Saliba a lot. But for a lot of his contract, you know, he's had quite a bit of a contract with us. He was out on loan for about 3 years at one point, wasn't he?
Yeah, as a young defender.
He's an Arsenal player in name, but he was playing for 3 years at other clubs. And he wants to play for Madrid. You know, apparently it's the only club that he would leave. And I'm like, you know what? He's probably going to leave us in a couple of years anyway. Even if we didn't sell him now. Listen, where I'm coming from. And if we're not winning anything, there's no enticement. So what I would say is, right, if he's going to leave within 2 years anyway, and we've got a filled out hole, if it means selling him in this window for good money, and then that money you spent in bringing in Rodrigo to play on the left wing, knowing that he can also play anywhere across the top three, but we know, you know, he's really good on the left wing, I would say do it, as much as it hurts me, because, as I say, Saliba's maybe going within 2 years anyway. Rodrigo coming in, he'd be staying for longer than that. He'd be coming into, you know, create.
I don't know, Stan. I think that we are getting to the point here under Mikel Arteta where it's like something's got to give, right? Something's got to give in the next season or two. We have all of these players who are really good, but we have half a team, probably 4 or 5 players from that first 11 that played on Wednesday night should be gone. They're not good enough. They're not of the standard we need. We're in a position now where we have a window and we have to supplement the players that we have. Saka, Saliba, Rice.
Everyone covers Saliba. You know, Saliba is, as a lot of fans have called him, the Rolls Royce. Yeah?
Yes. Yeah.
However, isn't it funny that he started to make a few mistakes here and there? And what is that coincided with?
I think it's coincided with our run in the Champions League and the lack of focus.
No, my friend.
Speculation, Stan. Speculation. Is that what you're going?
No. Gentlemen.
We entered the season with them. Now they've top 3, so they have advanced.
Come on, chat box, help me out here. It's obvious.
The
You not see it.
Real Madrid
reason-
admiring eyes. That's
The
what you're thinking.
reason, no.
What? What?
Ross knows the score. Sorry, Moss knows the score. He knows the score.
Moss.
The reason that Saliba is starting to look a little bit shabby is because your main man, Gabriel Megalegs, ain't there.
Well, yeah, the partner who shouts at you and tells you to stay sharp and where you need to be.
That's
Yeah.
the reason why. It's not that Saliba's no good. He's brilliant. It's great. But the reason you're starting to see some of this little there's been a few mistakes, hasn't there? I've seen them.
Yeah, you don't let go of him, Stan. You do not let
Megalegs.
go of a
Because
good player.
Megalegs isn't there, man. Megalegs is probably the communication between David Raya, the back four.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And if I was Real Madrid, if I was, and we're talking like championship manager, Real Madrid, if I'm looking to buy, revitalize my team, I'm taking them both.
They can both.
They come as a pair.
Yeah, because I think Gary said before that David Luiz, that player we used to have, was the player who brought Gabriel through, and was teaching him along the way when he came in and had a big impact on him. But as Saskia Gunnar Moss says, you get a center back like Saliba, you don't let go, and you try to build more pieces around.
Let me ask you. Let me say it again, right? As much as I love Saliba, but if he's going to go within the next, what's the echo? What's the echo? Tony. Happened. Then the Tony come back.
Tony, testing 1, 2, 3. Okay, try it, Stan.
Tony.
All right, that's better. You fixed it, Tony. You were gonna get jettisoned into the green room.
So what was I saying there? Sorry.
The center backs Saliba and Gabriel.
But what I'm saying is, though, if we know that Saliba might be going within 2 seasons, yeah. And as I've said, there's been some talks between Madrid and his people. And there's an opportunity to bring in someone like Rodrigo, because remember when I spoke earlier, and I'm like, if you're looking to bring players in, they need to be best in class.
Yeah.
If the choice is right to bring in a winger, you've got the choice of Rodrigo, Rafael Leao, Nico Williams. Who else has been mentioned? Who can play out of there? The players that have been looked at.
What are we talking about? Left wing? Or
let's just use them, right? The ones that we've been kind of looked at, yeah?
I like Semenyo. I would like Semenyo from Bournemouth.
Well, for me, it's Rodrigo all day long. For me, there's only a couple of players. I only think there's 2 players above Rodrigo on the left wing that are better than him. And one of those is Vinny Jr. and the other one is Rafinha. I think Rodrigo's better than Kvaratskhelia.
But that's what I was asking.
Well,
and you know why? He's been playing on the right-hand side, right, and been tearing it up when his favourite position is being overshadowed by Vinny Jr. You bring someone like him to Arsenal, you give him a nice contract, you make him a main man, you say, there's your favourite position, you've got some other good players around complimenting him, he's going to shine. He wants to show everybody what he's about. For me, Rodrigo is like a best in class. So if it means that, we get rid of Saliba in this window and that facilitates money for Rodrigo, and Saliba might leave in 2 years anyway, I'll do it. Because there are other centre-backs out there that you could put in with Gabriel and he'll help make better. Like Dan Howson that everyone's talking about. For me, Gabriel's the key, not Saliba.
Yeah. That's an astute assessment, because, as you say,
I'll be back.
Saliba will get all the plaudits from the media.
Yeah, he's French. He's young. He's French. You know what I mean?
Tony said.
It's like you put anyone next to Van Dijk, they're quite good. I think Gabriel Megalegs is that guy, and he's got that. He's a left footer, which is quite rare. I think that you could put other centre backs next to him, and they'd be, you know, they'd look good. But also, in saying that,
look out of place.
Kivior, as I've said before, Mega Legs is out. There's no red light shining over Kivior. We're all not going, fucking hell. He's done very well. He's done very well. Let me ask you a question. If you had a choice now to keep Calafiori or Kivior, and the main cover that you're looking at is for Mega Legs, yeah, there's an option at left back, but you know, Skelly's doing left back. So you're looking at maybe the main cover for Mega Legs. Who are you keeping? I'm keeping Kivior.
I'd have to say Kivior as well. Well, I
don't think there's room in the team for the both of them.
I do like Calafiori, but I can't deny that Kivior has been really good in Gabriel's.
I like Calafiori.
And I wanted to see this earlier in the season. As Tony's talking about playing where we played Saka in the early rounds of the Carabao Cup, we should have rested Saliba and Gabriel and tried our second choice centre backs in those situations.
Again, this seems to be that this whole podcast, we've been kind of like we've not even dissected the match as such. We've been dissecting Arsenal and the manager, and we seem to always be going back to the same thing: in-game management, how players have been handled.
Yeah,
you're right. There's been plenty of games where you're like, we're coasting in this game. Saka scored a nice goal. He's laid on an assist.
Get him off.
We're doing really. Get the fucker off.
Yeah, keep those minutes down, and
let's give each other, you know. And again, happy accidents, because at the beginning of the season, the first important injury that we had was Odegaard. Before we knew that the bad form was coming, but Odegaard was out before Saka, right? And we were like, okay. I was literally like, okay. So we're going to see a little bit of Waneri, maybe not starting, but coming on. And what did he do?
Yeah.
He rejigged the whole team to a different formation to 4-4-2. Remember? He started playing 4-4-2.
Yeah.
Not when we were off the ball, but on the ball. I was like, you know, when there's a match coming up and it's an hour before and you go to your phone to look at who's playing. I was like, 4-4. I was like, right. Am I like, you know, I love a 4-4-2, but that's what we were doing. So, and Wari wasn't getting in. He wasn't even coming off the bench. He was a little bit like Butler, Odijay Butler. Sorry, you know what I'm talking about. He was like that. He was on the bench, but he wasn't coming on.
No way he was coming on.
And then it took Saka to get injured as well. Now you've got Odegaard and Saka overlapping injuries, and now you're forced to roll that dice. And what happened? He puts on Waneri, a young kid, not in his favoured position that he's come up through the youth in that middle area, but as a on the right side. And what did he do?
He acquitted himself really well.
He produced.
Yeah, he produced. Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, I think Mikel's hand was kind of forced.
Ethan Waneri has been amazing this season through 3 or 4 competitions. He scored goals in the Champions League, he scored goals in the Premier League, and scored goals in the Carabao Cup. If you thought he was just going to perform in the Carabao Cup, well, no, he's got quality for the Premier League, quality for the Champions League. Ethan Waneri has been underutilized in recent weeks by Mikel Arteta. We hope that there's a legitimate reason behind that, you know. But moving from one area, unless you want
to say that the reason is because he hasn't been bold enough.
Yeah,
it's as simple as that. He hasn't been bold enough, and I don't know why.
Yeah,
I mean, at some point,
maybe he's one of those young. Maybe he's one of those young players just going to accept what the manager wants him to do and tells him he doesn't have that confidence about himself or life experience.
I look at it this way, right? If we get to the end of the season and we're in 4th place, if I'm the manager and I'm now sitting down and reflecting and thinking, is there anything more I could have done? Well, I'm going to be like, well, yeah, there was. I could have given this guy more minutes instead of fucking flogging this dead horse.
We're going to be on probably another US tour in July, and Mikel Arteta will
sometimes you've got to go sink or swim. You know, sometimes you've got to be like sink or swim. And I think I think everyone was chomping at the bit when Odegaard went out, and we didn't get a sniff of when he didn't even come on as hard as a substitute. Nothing. We changed the whole formation so that this kid couldn't play. Think about it. We didn't think. We didn't. The manager didn't. It drives me crazy now. I'm thinking about it. The manager didn't go, okay, Odegaard's out. Let's keep everything the same that we like, and let's just slot this person into here and see how that goes. He was like, you know what? He was like,
that would have happened.
But he was rather like, you know what? I'm not going to slot that in. I'm changing every fucking thing around rather than slotting that in.
I'll tell you what, Stan.
Why was that? Was it he didn't believe in the player? He doesn't trust them. And then when Saka goes out, now he's like, fuck. Now he's like, now I'm snookered. I'm snookered now. Now I've got both of them out. Now I've got to play this kid. And what does the kid do? He doesn't come on. If you're a new kid, you're thinking, I'm going to, get bedded in. No, he comes on in a position that he's not come up in.
Yeah.
He's playing, and he's playing. That's what I said when Gary said earlier about, people may be saying that when Yari's not big enough to fill in for Odegaard. He filled in for Saka. Saka's as big as it gets at Arsenal. And what did he do? He acquitted himself. The question should have been, when Saka got back fit, how do I get them both in the team together? How do I get to... That's the question. Not like, Saka's back, and then it's like, what about Ranieri? Who? No, that's all right. You should be thinking like, this is okay, how can I make this work? Maybe there's arguments that you could have said that maybe there were arguments where in certain games, imagine no Martin Odegaard. Imagine Saka playing in Odegaard's place with Ranieri on the right, or either the other way around.
Yeah,
Ranieri playing. I mean, was it not worth taking a look at? Was it so taboo? Would it have hurt?
No.
It's getting to 70 minutes. We know. Getting to 70 minutes, and Odegaard is having another nightmare, which he's had. And I'm not putting it on him. I like the guy, but we've seen. Would it have hurt to have gone, okay?
We know Mikel Arteta is not afraid to make controversial decisions. Well, he thought him through in his head about a goalkeeper, pulling a goalkeeper for, Raya to come on. Take Ramsdale off in the middle of a game and put Raya on. But he's got to think outside the box in these situations. But
he never did it, did he?
He didn't do it in the end. He thought about it.
Is what he says and what he does.
Yeah. Moss said Ranieri did awesome. He's going to be coming back as a very hungry 18-year-old, as did his bro in Miles Lewis-Skelly. Want to get to Miles Lewis-Skelly next and after this though. But Ranieri being 18 years old, he's probably ready to go another step forward again next season. But Mikel Arteta's got to be open to giving opportunities to these players. So that's the one thing that gives me cause for pause, Stan. I'm saying get Mikel Arteta, get him with Berta, Berta, who's got that experience, get the players in and see how it cooks. If it's still not working next season with the players with the improvement in the players that we should have over the summer, then there has to be real question marks against Mikel Arteta at that point for me.
The first question you asked him was you said about Miles Lewis-Skelly. Yeah, that's what you said.
Yeah.
I
want to speak about Miles Lewis-Skelly. Yeah,
and for me, I was very tempered when he first came up. Okay, everyone's going mad. I was more like, okay, let's see, because I've seen it all before with Tavares. Oh, the fuck is this guy? And then after a while, you're like, oh. And I was like, okay, let's not go. And then, but you know what? The guy can play football. He's a footballer. That's what he is. He's a footballer. I don't know what his position is. I never watched him in the youth, but he's playing as a left back, and he's doing that coming into the midfield and helping. But I mean, if you're Miles Lewis-Skelly and you've come up playing as a midfielder and you support Arsenal and you've been playing all through the levels, I'll be like, they want me as a left back. Fair enough. I have to. I mean, are we ever gonna? Has his position been changed now? Has he come up as a midfielder and he's now a left back? Because he's played at
No.
England at left back.
He's an inverting left back, right?
Do you know? But are we ever going to get to a stage where you look at the starting lineup on your phone? We need an hour before the game.
Yeah.
And there'll be someone else playing at left back, and somewhere in that midfield three,
Yeah.
you'll see Lewis Skelly. Do you think that's ever going to happen?
I hope so. I mean,
Here's another question. Do you ever think, I don't know whether it's in 3 years, 4 years, or 5 years, or 18 months, that you're ever going to, a match is coming up, it's an hour before the kickoff, you pick up your phone, and I'm asking this to the chat box as well, Moss, tell me if you think this will ever happen. And you'll go to look at the lineup, that hour before.
Yeah.
And three of the midfield three will be one of Wanari and one of Skelly.
Yeah.
2 out of 3. Do you think
that'll definitely happen.
Do you think it's going to happen one day?
Yeah, it'll definitely happen.
You think that's the future?
I'll tell you why. Because Bukayo Saka played left back or left wing back, whatever.
No, as I understood it, he
quality.
He played as a left winger, but then came into the first team as a wing back, in the defense.
Well, he played in defensive positions for Arsenal, but because he was so good, huh? No, with Mikel. No, with Mikel.
Oh yeah. Under Emery
and under Mikel, I think it was as well. But his quality was so good that we just had to move him forward. And
not only has he moved forward, he's moved to the other side.
Yeah, Mikel Arteta saw something in him.
Is it like what's his name? Gareth Bale, because he came through as a left back.
Yeah.
And then he got moved to the left wing.
Do you think that's maybe Saka's best position, as identified by Mikel Arteta?
Well, it all depends on what you want out of your winger. If you're left playing on the left wing, then surely you're hoping for that guy to be able to curl crosses in from that side.
In on the left side, in swinging.
And that's how it used to be when I watched football as a kid. Right wingers had a right foot, left wingers had the left foot, and they were trying to cross balls into guys into the middle,
onto the head. Yeah. So that's when you saw it back in the day. You saw more headed goals then.
Yeah. But now it seems to be that a winger on the left hand side would be right footed because he wants to come inside and actually take a shot.
Yes. So everything's flowing into the middle. Everything's flowing into the middle from the wings.
He can pass it off, but he may find himself in a position where he can shoot.
I think it's all come because of the statistics behind headed goals and the statistics around shots. You've got a much better chance of scoring a goal from your foot than you do have from your head, and that's just pure statistics as well. All right, so that was interesting how football has evolved over the last few years. Miles Lewis-Skelly, for me, let's get to that one, Stan. He's been brilliant this season. He's taken a lot of plaudits. He's gone through a lot of things that probably he wouldn't have been privy to, but for the injuries that we've had in the team. So he played a lot more football than probably anticipated. For me, there's still something a little bit raw about the player that gets them into trouble.
But has he been playing because of injuries? Because he's been playing games when you've got Zinchenko and Tierney both available. Do you know what I mean? He's been starting games ahead of Kieran Tierney, who is a number one pick for Scotland, and Zinchenko, who's the number one pick for his country, the Ukraine as well. Yeah. I mean, that's got to tell you something.
Yeah.
Of where he is in the team.
Maybe Miles Lewis-Skelly is number one for England now.
It doesn't surprise me that he had a bad game in a semi-final. You know why? Because he's 18, and that's what happens when you're young. Yeah. That's what happens sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, there's still something very raw about him. He gets himself far too many yellow cards for me. He gets involved in duels on the field.
So did Gabriel. So did Wayne Rooney.
Yeah,
he's young.
You don't see it as an issue.
No, I think it's something that will be improved upon because he'll understand that if he wants to play for Arsenal, that won't be tolerated.
Yeah.
So he
Well,
will fix it.
I had hoped that would have gotten into him earlier. He's been involved in that sending off. He's been involved in a few controversial incidents. The Buddha mimic of Haaland when he scored that goal against Man City back in February, and a couple of things in Europe, right? Huh?
Yeah, I love the Buddha thing. I don't see a problem with that.
So yeah, it was just a little bit of banter. You generally enjoy banter, right? A little bit.
Well, you were talking earlier about players that were lacking in confidence. He's not.
He's not, for sure.
So,
yeah.
What do you want?
And Miles Skelly playing on the same wing.
Someone's at the door.
Just hasn't. What's that?
Someone's at the door.
Okay, I'll keep talking. It just hasn't seemed right to me, Miles Skelly and Martinelli as a partnership down the left-hand side. It just hasn't seemed fluid or correct. You get a feeling when you're watching football how the players complement each other in these situations on the field and how they link up together. And Miles Skelly's been amazing, but I don't know if Martinelli has been the correct foil for Miles Skelly. I will also say, whilst the penalty against Miles Skelly was somewhat harsh and controversial,
but it was a penalty according to the rules.
If
it was the other way around and we'd won that penalty, I would have pissed myself, but taken it because it's one of them. It is the rules. The funny thing is though is the penalty that David Raya saved. Was it Vitinha that took the penalty?
Yeah.
What the hell was that kind of? What was he doing there? Was he stalking the ball? What was going on there? That penalty. It's the funniest penalty.
See, when a penalty's not scored, that's on the guy who's taking the penalty because
the style of how he took the penalty, the style.
Yeah,
it was like you could probably do a video of him doing that penalty, and underneath you could do like the Pink Panther music. I mean, what was he doing?
He has a sneaky
or
beard.
You could have him doing that thing, but he could like superimpose like a hunter's rifle.
Yeah.
Going up to the ball.
Yeah. Poor penalty, good save from David Raya. Carvicelli had hit the upright earlier. They'd scored the goal. Again, Saliba's getting a little bit of criticism for the goal, the first goal conceded. He does turn his body slightly. He's not as broad as you'd like him to be.
Yeah, because Megalegs is in there telling him what to do. It's as simple as that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Megalegs is calling the shots. Now he's got to step into those shoes, right? To help Kivior. And he's out of his comfort zone. He's not Megalegs. Listen, when Megalegs, right? I know some podcasts refer to him as Big Gabby. I hate that name. Big Gabby. No, it's Gabby or Megalegs. Right? When he first came to us, he was like a rough diamond that needed filing down a bit. I mean, he used to pick up some bad cards, and we love the passion that people are like. Oh,
yeah, but was it because a little bit of the?
But has he not improved? I actually think that for me, under Mikel Arteta, if you could say like, okay, write down a list of Mikel Arteta's most improved players under Mikel Arteta, he has to be up there. He has to be. Because he's able to now. He used to be a little bit rash, a little bit too, across the line, and it would cost us by either him going off or whatever, double booking, missing games. But he's refined it. I love him. I don't want to sell that guy. That's one guy that I would like to see retire at Arsenal.
Yeah, I think his early career. I think
because I honestly think that. I think that at one point, someday Saliba's going to go. It's obvious.
Yeah,
it's obvious to me. The French, Real Madrid. He had posters on his wall of like fucking.
We got to start winning.
I get that, and as long as we make good money off of it, or we're able to get something back, and it's not one of these Trent Alexander things where he runs his contract out, because remember, they didn't really pay money for him, right? But we pay. We need to get something back. But I do believe that if we keep Mega Legs, we could bring in another or use another person that he makes them better. He's one of them. He's like, I think that you play next to Mega Legs, you become better. I think he's that good.
Yeah, I think he suffered our left back issues. He was left out to hang to dry, hanged out to dry too many times by the likes of Nuno Tavares and Zinchenko, especially.
Oh, right, you mean like covering?
Yeah, covering. So a lot of the issues where he tried to clean things up, and he's there, and he's the one who's getting blamed for the situation, when in fact we have the situation of the left back Tony making the issues.
Yeah, that was I convinced, because Alonso hated Gabriel. Then he realized when I was through.
It's in points. See
that
he's fantastic.
It's all about. It's all about the tactics that Arteta has for the left back. He wants to go forward. So if there's a way to get Kavags back, we need to bring him back.
Yeah,
I still think we need to go to the back.
I don't know, but we were playing really great football a couple of seasons ago. We were playing attacking.
I tell you how.
But that was the formation change, though, right? We went from a 4-2-3-1 to a 4-3-3 with a deep three.
Yeah.
They're not up front like they were.
I thought we were playing 4-3-3 even 2 seasons ago.
Now we're playing we're doing the 4-2-3-1. That's when Odegaard got his 15.
Yeah, we've definitely taken a step back from those days where we could win games 4-3 if we needed to.
He has to change the formation. He either needs to go back to that or go back to.
All right. Anything else to talk about? Any other topics to bring? We'll get out of here in a few minutes here, 2 or 3, 4 or 5 minutes from now.
Yeah, I'd like to say that, I know I watch a lot of podcasts, clips here and there, have a little dip in and that.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's like, listen.
I know.
People have to understand, right? It's like we all have our own opinions about the club. Do you know what I mean? We all have our own different opinions. You know what I mean? Some of mine are good, some of mine are shit. It's as simple as that. Some of yours are good, some of yours are shit. But you can want Mikel Arteta out as much as you want. He ain't going anywhere. He's not.
That's what Goldberg said. I was said earlier.
There's been too much invested in this guy, and I don't think that, if he can finish second this season, I think the ownership will look at that and think, I see improvement. He's not faulted in the league, and he's had all these injuries, the PGMOL. And if they're honest and look in the mirror, they'll say, and we didn't back him as much as we could have.
Yeah.
And
it's tough,
right? He's improved himself in the Champions League and brought in even more money. He ain't going anywhere.
It's a tough one because
it's
a tough one because you look at Mikel Arteta, handpicked by the Cronkies.
He's not going anywhere.
They went. Yeah, I agree with you, Stan.
Let me just finish. I'm not saying that like you're right, I'm wrong, or whatever.
Yeah.
Because I have my scales, right? I have a scale thing, right?
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, just like he's not going anywhere. He's not. He's going to be there for at least another season.
He is not failing in the race for top 4. He's failing within the midst of a PGMOL, maybe manipulation, within the midst of injuries that were unprecedented at Arsenal for many, many years.
Yes, you remember, right?
Unprecedented,
for the Cronkies to turn around now, right? Before the transfer window opens and say, we're getting rid of Mikel Arteta, what does that say? That says you made a wrong decision. You're admitting I fucked up, I got it wrong. and you're not going to do that unless you really, you know what I'm getting at. You're not.
Yeah. Tony, you wanted to come back at me for the comments that I made about the PGMOL. I know you do.
That's not what I was going at. Yeah, but Stan's convinced you otherwise. But I wasn't going there. I was going on the. You said unprecedented. You said no.
Unprecedented injuries, Tony.
It's not unprecedented. We had Thomas Rosicky. We had Rambo. We had Wilshire. We had all those guys at the same time.
No, they weren't all at the same time. They can't have been. Not in the same season.
They overlap.
Yeah.
There's definitely at least 3 of them out at a time.
It's hard.
And again, you're forgetting that Arteta ran these guys into the ground. Yeah. They're playing 4,000 minutes a year. That's why Gabriel and Saka got hurt. They're playing too much. Saka comes back from a World Cup. He gets back probably 12th of December. And he's starting on Boxing Day.
Yeah.
I have a question for you, Tony. Right? If you had the power to sack Mikel Arteta now, before the transfer window opens, and we've heard talk that there's at least 300 million kicking around, would you do it? And if you would, who would you bring in? And it's got to be viable. You can't just say like, yeah, I'm bringing in like the guy from Barcelona, because he wouldn't leave Barcelona. So or would you say no? As much as I'm disappointed with some of it, I'd rather stick with it and see what happens after this window. What would you do in that situation?
I think we keep on asking the same questions year after year because we keep saying, "Oh,
no." Are you keeping him though? Are you gonna fire him before this summer and he can't get his hands on that 3 million because you've had enough? And you're like, no, I'd rather someone else.
I was explaining my reasoning for it, Stan. Because he hasn't improved at team management. He's got his players hurt.
Is this a yes or a no though? Oh, is this yes or a no?
It's a no.
Okay.
Yes, I'm getting rid of him at the end of the season.
So tell me why and who you would bring in.
Because I don't think he's improved much at all himself. The club supported him, and I don't know if the club stopped supporting him. I don't know what happened with him and the dude, what we've been a dude to a dude. I don't know what we said bye to.
I'll tell you what, Stan. There is a manager at Real Madrid who's probably standing on the sideline these days. And he didn't win the Champions League this year. And he didn't win the Copa del Rey this year. And he's probably not going to win the league this year either. And he's got one eyebrow higher than the other eyebrow. And one of the eyebrows looks like an upside down V, but he's got the minerals. You know what I mean?
I have a rebuttal to that. You're obviously talking about Carlo Ancelotti, who's obviously may not be a manager of Real Madrid. Okay.
Yes.
Now, there are 2 kinds of managers in this world, right? You have coaches, which are on the pitch, talking about tactics and formations and in there. And then you have managers, right, who never put a fucking tracksuit on, who just wear an overcoat and trousers. And they work in a club where there's a lot of money sloshing about. They've got players that have big egos because every player has cost the club over £100 million.
Mm-hmm.
But the players respect you because, you've been a player yourself and you're a manager of the team. But they respect you because you don't tell them what to do. All you tell them is be yourself. That's
put your boots on.
Just be yourself and blah, blah, blah. Right?
Yeah.
And for me, what I'm describing to me is Carlo Ancelotti. He's a figurehead. Do you honestly think that Carlo Ancelotti is the manager of Real Madrid? And when they were doing everything they could to buy Mbappe, Do you think Carlo Ancelotti could have turned around and says, you know what, listen, I'm working on this formation with the players that I've got, and my formation doesn't include Kylian Mbappe, so I don't want to buy that player. Do you honestly think that? Do you honestly think that would have been heard? And that would have been, oh, okay. The manager, no. He, again, Unai Emery, I don't know what it's like at Aston Villa, but when he was at PSG, if they said to him, we're buying this player, he didn't say yes, no, or whatever. You got given that player and you had to make that shit work. Yeah? I don't want that. So as much as Carlo Ancelotti has been the figurehead for a team like Real Madrid, I don't think that would work at Arsenal, because we're not a team with those kind of players where you can just go, you know, you're looking out there and you got David Beckham, Carlos, you know, Seedorf, Zidane. Right? You know, I'm getting that. We ain't got that. You need to have someone that is out there on the training pitch in the fucking tracksuit bottoms and the boots on and doing a bit of that. Do you know what I mean? So what do you want? Do you want a figurehead, a coach, or do you want a manager, or do you want? I think Mikel Arteta is in between the both. He does both of those things, because initially he was hired as a head coach. That was his job title. When he got hired, and I think Unai Emery was also head coach, and it was halfway through his tenure or whatever, his job title got changed to manager.
Yeah.
Now there's a difference between those two titles, right?
Yeah.
Between, you know, head coach to me is like, you're working with this, you better make it work.
Given the players,
they give you the players. A manager can go, I would like this. I don't want this anymore. This has to go. Who has to go? Ozil's got to go. Ozil? Really? Yeah, he's got to go. Who else? Aubameyang. Yeah, he's got to. Do you know what I'm getting at? A coach doesn't get to do that. So that's where we are. There's a difference. And I think Carlo, all I'm going to say is, right, if you really want Carlo Ancelotti and you think he's the Messiah, remember he was at Everton.
I knew you were going to. I thought you were going to come out with that first.
I didn't see them winning the league.
But Everton, as bad as Arsenal can be, we are not Everton. You know what I mean?
What I'm saying is, we don't want a figurehead kind of a manager, because we don't have a team of superstars that you can. They're so good you can't coach them. They've got a team of Maradonas where you're like, I can't. They're so good. What can I tell them? They're fucking geniuses. We don't have that. So we
go out. Yeah, go out and enjoy yourselves, lads.
Yeah, we don't have that. So we need a proper coachy person, and Ancelotti's not that. I do not believe that Ancelotti does that shit. He just stands and raises an eyebrow.
There's nobody knows where Jurgen Klopp's going to go, right? Maybe Liverpool.
Ancelotti, I tell you what, all Ancelotti does is he does things like gives you a bit of pull when it comes to buying a player. You might have a bit of pull there. Yeah. You know what I mean? But to make your team better, if you haven't got Galacticos, what the fuck?
Hush.
But
is it bullshit?
But
I would rather have the Bournemouth manager or Thomas Frank. If you said to me, you're going to get rid of
Thomas Frank,
Arsenal, and you got three choices: Ancelotti, Thomas Frank, and you know, Ancelotti's, as much as I like him, he's not a man. He's not what Arsenal needs at this stage. So I'm getting that. So why am I going to pick him?
Okay, I like Thomas Frank. I will have to say that. Tiger and Gunnar said Ancelotti went to Everton and Arteta went to Arsenal. Yeah, but I think Arsenal is a different animal to Everton, and Ancelotti at Arsenal would be successful, I believe.
Really?
Unless
it's a top-class coaching team.
You put those players in the right position to win without rotation, the right substitutes at the right time.
Well, he's not doing that at fucking Real Madrid, is he? He's playing a 4-4-2 formation with Mbappe and Vinny Jr. as what?
Yeah.
Everybody knows, right? If you want to make that team work,
yeah.
Mbappe doesn't fit because Mbappe, his best position is on the left-hand side. That's
Yeah.
his best position, right?
Yeah.
But if he plays there, then we're going to do Vinny.
You have to play through the middle. Yeah.
Did you see what I'm getting at? It's just
Yeah.
it's a shoehorn situation, a classic shoehorn.
Yeah.
But
Tony?
just Stan, if you have your gauge on this side, you would have him. But on the other side, you have a barking chihuahua that Arteta is. He
Oh, not this
micromanages out
again.
there.
Barking Chihuahua.
He is. He's
Oh.
always. He's always. But
Why
I
we-
was going to say this
about-
earlier.
Yeah.
Back when we had Wenger. Wenger went and took a holiday 3 or 4 times a year because he would get up in the thistles and get sent there. Arteta's only been there once in 5 years. Once he's gotten sent off. So if you want to make an example out of your players,
But here's the thing, right? Remember, when I asked you the question. One of the caveats was, if you don't want him out, why? And you've done all of that. But the last thing is that who are you going to replace him with? Who tomorrow, right? If you had the power to right now make 2 phone calls, look, you got the opportunity to make 2 phone calls. One, your first phone call is you're calling Mikel Arteta and you're saying you're fired, you're done. I'll see you later. Now your next phone call is to somehow entice a manager. Who are you calling realistically?
You'll probably be shocked by this. He still coaches. He still coaches in France.
I go with Jurgen Klopp.
He's defensive minded. That's my 2 choices. It'd either be Patrick Vieira or Klopp.
Okay. There's no. I don't see Klopp coming back to England to manage Arsenal after managing Liverpool.
Well, no.
I don't see that.
I don't see it either.
Right? The other one is that you're saying that you want Patrick Vieira. What's he ever done as a manager? What has Patrick Vieira ever done as a manager? Seriously.
He
Do
had
you
one of
think
the
that
best.
Patrick Vieira could get us into the semi-finals of the Champions League?
He had one of the best defenses in France when he was coaching.
This is what I'm talking about, right? It's all well and good saying I want Arteta to go, but you have to think of who's going to come in, and it has to be realistic. You can't say, "Oh, I want Hansi Flick." Hansi Flick enjoys Barcelona; he's not leaving.
It has to make sense.
Realistically,
Yeah.
Listen, seriously, right? If you were to be logical about it, right? If you had like a list of options, Gareth Southgate would be on there. You know why? Because he's not in a job.
Gareth Southgate.
And who the fuck wants that? I mean, it has to be.
I've forgotten about Gareth Southgate.
I mean, it has to be viable. We can all say, Jurgen Klopp. Realistically, that's going to happen. Jurgen Klopp's going to come and manage Arsenal. He's no Rafael Benitez. It's not happening.
How about Mick McCarthy?
Why? Mick McCarthy would sprint to manage Arsenal, but as a fan, I'd be going like, why is this fucking happening? I'd prefer Sam Allardyce.
Big Sam.
Do you know what I'm getting at? So this is what I'm saying. It's all well and good saying, I'm done with Mikel Arteta. He has to go. Okay. So your first phone call, let me ask the chat box. Everyone, whoever.
What about Simone?
Your first phone call is to say, your first phone call is, you're fired. You're done. Now you've got to ring someone and say, I'm off. Who realistically and is viable, and you think that can take us to the next step, which was obviously the next step is higher than second place in the Premier League because we finished there consistently, and higher than the semi-final of the Champions League. Who are you calling that is available? It's like saying like, I'm calling Johan Cruyff. He died. It's got to be realistic. It's not good saying like, I'm phoning Iniesta. Why is he leaving his team? You got to tell me then, why is he leaving? See what I'm getting at? Who are you calling?
Yeah.
Ghostbusters?
What about Simone?
Why? He gets paid more than Mikel Arteta. He's the second highest paid manager in the world, isn't he? No, he's the highest paid. Isn't he higher than Pep?
Simeone, I forgot about him.
He's bang up there. right? But are you telling me then that that's the style of football you want to bring to Arsenal? Is that what you want?
Well, are we playing better football than Atletico Madrid right now?
Let me hang on. Let's stick with this. So, Tony, you'd say that your second phone call is Simeone, yeah?
Yep.
Yeah. What are you telling him on that phone call that's going to entice him to leave Atletico Madrid? What's your pitch?
Tell him that he can win the league and win the Champions League. And that's a new challenge instead of constantly going to battle with Real Madrid and Barcelona.
Tiger and Gunu said, are we talking about a manager who's already in a job, Stan? So yeah, that's a good qualification of what you're asking.
Okay, is there any decent manager out there that isn't in a job?
Yeah, Jurgen Klopp.
He's not coming to Arsenal. It's not happening. That's not going to happen.
Okay, you're right. He probably would never manage, because like Arsene Wenger, he would never go manage another team in England against Liverpool.
Exactly.
I think he would.
Exactly that.
I think
he's an old school. He has that kind of loyalty. You know, he's not a Jose Mourinho. He's not a bandit. Jose Mourinho's like, hire me, I'll work for you, and when I work for you, I'll do my best. And there's no shame in that. But there are some people that's like, he said he's not going to marry, he's not going to manage. He said he's not managing another team in England. So I have to take him at his word until the day I see him turn up, holding up the staff of another team. Why should I think otherwise? So that makes him exempt, because that's what he's told us. That's not my opinion. He said, I'm not going to manage another team in England. So he's out of the conversation. So who is out there? If you're making your first call, and that's, I'm asking you, Moss, Tiger and Guna, you've made that first call, fired Arteta. Let's put you in. Who's out there that's really viable? That's like, okay. Do you know what I mean?
I don't follow the international team.
Wilder, Chris Wilder. That's another story. Who?
There's going to be some international coach that you can get.
Okay, tell me who they are.
I don't know.
There isn't anyone. There's no one.
Follow it enough.
But there's no one, is there?
There's got to be somebody.
Who's that guy with the big forehead? Allegri. Why would you want him? The fuck? Come on. That would just be like going back in a time machine, and the other guy that used to manage England, he looked like a muppet with the curly hair and the glasses. What was his name? The Italian guy. I mean, come on. This is where it is. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just being logical. There is no one. Who are you enticing? What's your pitch? Leave this club and come here. Why?
I already told you I'm Simone.
Do you know what I'm saying? I think it's Arteta for a while. You know? You think of the top three men. Think of it. Who would you say are three top managers higher than Arteta right now? Name three.
There's 20 of them better than him.
Yeah, but just name them. Pep? Yeah, Pep, right? Pep. Do you think Pep's a better manager?
Yep.
Okay. Who else?
Let's see.
Do you think the guy that Iniesta?
Yeah, Iniesta is.
Okay, that's two. Is there a third one? What I'm getting at is right. We've only named two.
Ancelotti is better.
And Ancelotti. Okay, there's three. Yeah. Why would any of them come to Arsenal and leave the positions that they're in? Why would any of them leave the job that they are in now to come to Arsenal? For what reason?
New challenge.
There is none.
Ability to win the Premier League and win the Champions League.
I just think that the way that we are now, this has to be the last window. This team has really been molded, shaped in Mikel Arteta for me. And there's a lot of money available this summer. We've brought in apparently a top class sporting director. I don't know. I'm not into sporting directors. I don't know if they're good or bad. But you know, everyone talks up about Berta from the team he came from and blah blah blah. That sounds nice. It's nice to hear. I don't know any of that. I'm not into that shit, but it sounds nice. So now we've got this guy in place. We've got money. If we get to the end, I'll let you know how I feel at the end of that window. Because that window's either going to inspire me or it's not. It's going to do one or two things. It's either going to inspire me or it's not. And if it doesn't inspire me, I'm going into the season a little bit grumpy. And that's not what I want. I want to go into next season thinking, you know what? It was a little bit disappointing last season, but this team has shown me that they want to do more. If they can do that, I'm going to be, you know, because I'm not changing my team. I have to support Arsenal, good or bad. I can't just change it. I'm stuck with Arsenal. That's the choice I made, right? When I was like 8 years old or whatever it was. So this window for me is like, they keep talking about a lot of money. We just looked at money we're bringing in. There's 300. If they make, again, it's what I'm saying. It's small margins. I'm not saying that Sesko is a bad player, but he's not best in class. He is not best in class. Right now, if you want to buy a best in class striker, you're looking at Isak or Victor Gyökeres. It's one of them two. We don't bring in one of those two and we bring in someone else. Tell me we're not serious. We're patchwork quilt. We're trying to do a bit. We brought in a striker. But if you want to fucking do the really, you know what I'm saying? We buy best in class. And if I don't see that,
we have to. We've come,
and it's Arsenal's fault because you know why? They showed us that they are capable of doing best in class by spending money on Rice.
So Stan, I was going to say this earlier.
Come so close. We got to do it.
When you went with Rodrigo, it is you're not. One of two things is that happen. Either we know that Trossard's leaving. We pretty much know that Martinelli's hit his peak. So why can't you go get Rafinha and Rodrigo? You still need a backup for Saka.
Yeah, because they have to want to be able to leave. They have to be in a position where they're like, yeah, I need a change. And Rafinha wanted to go to Brazil, right? Remember when he left Leeds? We were kind of there was links going on, but he wanted to go and he's cleaning up. Whereas Rodrigo is being overshadowed. They've got money problems. They need to do something, yeah. They got players playing out of position. They got a formation where Bellingham is now playing on the left-hand side. He's like past the Dutchie on the left-hand side. What's going on? The geezer was like scoring goals before Mbappe turned up.
Crazy. Yeah. Someone
is going to have to make way at some point. It happens all the time. Remember, Figo left for fucking Barcelona to Real. It happens. Players, sometimes things have to happen. And I think that if something's going to happen at Madrid in that attacking area, if there's going to be a fall guy, someone that we could take advantage of and maybe nip in, it's Rodrigo.
Okay.
It's Rodrigo.
Yeah.
It's not happening with Vini Jr.
It's a big summer.
And it's not happening with Mbappe, and it's not happening with Bellingham. Yeah. The next best thing is Rodrigo, and he's very good. But he's been overshadowed and had to play in a sub position, and he's done very well, but he's made way. He's like Nico Rosberg at fucking McLaren with Lewis Hamilton. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He is.
Yeah.
He's as good as Lewis, but, he's getting orders. There's things going on.
Yeah. He had the talent, but it's not quite there.
I would say Rodrigo in a heartbeat. There are better centre backs that we can get.
Rodrigo, yeah.
And Saliba's not going to stay.
Yeah. Tony, what were you going to say?
I was going to say you guys need to get me back into watching F1. Been too long.
Watching F1? You watching NASCAR with Alonso these days?
No, I do not watch NASCAR.
Just waving at each other on podcast.
Oscar Piastri. That's what it says.
I wasn't waving. I had my hand up to the.
He's good. He's good. He's good. Yeah, listen, Stan, you're right. It's going to be a big summer where Andrea Berta now needs to get to work. All the contacts, all of the things that he's been doing.
Exactly. This is where we will see, though. This is the period where you see however much we're paying, whatever the reason was why Berta left job A to come to us. It's about this summer.
Yeah. And Liverpool had the luck in terms of injuries this season. They've been very good, but they've also had very minimal.
A lot of injuries. No, injuries is no excuse. They've had a lot of injuries. They have had,
but not injuries to Salah, McAllister, and Nunes.
Yeah, but they've had a lot of injuries.
They've not had the injuries that we've had.
No. I don't take injuries as an excuse for losing shit. Seriously,
it's a fact.
Everyone gets injuries. I don't take it. No, that's why you have a squad. You have a squad to handle. A squad should be there to handle injuries and suspensions.
Well, I'll just leave it at this: the equivalent of Bukayo Saka at Arsenal, that player at Liverpool is Mo Salah.
But what I'm saying is, it's not so much injury, but it's why they get injured as well.
Yeah,
do you know what I'm saying? Like, could it be helped?
Injuries happened. Yeah.
Is that guy being run into the ground, or is that guy being run into the ground? Is that guy playing 90 minutes, or is that guy coming off at 75?
Maybe some of it was our own doing. Maybe some of it was overplaying players for 2 or 3 seasons in in title races with Man City the last couple of seasons, and we just fell away this season. It just stinks that Liverpool are the ones who benefited from both Arsenal and City. And I know you just disagreed with me, but Liverpool have benefited from injuries.
And let me just answer Moss. I hear what Moss is saying there, but I think that Gabriel Megalegs is like a Van Dijk. What I'm saying is, I know Saliba's good, but I think that if we brought someone else in, Gabriel is someone that makes players better. I don't think as good as Saliba is, I don't think he makes other players better.
Mm-hmm.
You know, getting that they have different qualities. They have different qualities. So what I'm saying is, if you said to me today, you got to sell one of your centre backs, who you're selling? That is a good question for everyone.
Tiger Gooner.
You've got to sell either Saliba or Gabriel. Who you're selling? I'd rather sell Saliba. And I'll tell you why.
I agree with you.
One, we're going to get more money, so we get more return. We're going to get more money, because of his age. And 2, because I think that Gabriel Megalegs is the scholar. You know, he's the guru, the teacher.
And he's the captain. He's the leader at the back.
So let me ask everybody else. You got to sell one. Who are you selling?
Saliba.
He needs to be.
You would as well.
Yeah, you've convinced me, Stan. Now we differ on the injury situation. We differ on that one. Tiger and Gunnar agreed with me on that one, but there you go.
Right. You have to look at why we have the injuries. They're almost all muscle injuries. It's because these guys are playing a shit ton of minutes.
Yeah.
They didn't need to be.
We'll wait for Stan to come back.
They didn't need to be in the opening rounds of the League Cup and the FA Cup.
So we'll wait for Stan to come back, but also, Tony, will give you your outro and what you would want to say. Have you got something prepared?
I have nothing prepared, but I was going to say this the other day on Gary's show.
Yeah.
In elementary here in the U.S., you get satisfactory and S or U unsatisfactory, or you get needs and improvement.
Yeah.
We've been at this needs of improvement thing year after year with Arteta.
Needs to improve. Yeah.
He's not improved on management.
Can do better.
But But at this point, the needs improvement has went from the NI to went to unacceptable because he's had 3-4 years to make these improvements and he hasn't made them.
Yeah. All right, we're winding it down, Stan. So give us your outro. It's been 3 hours. It's been interesting. It's been good discussion. It's tired me out. I've yawned a bit. I've gotten tired over 3 hours. It's late here.
I thought Ray
But
was going to go to sleep on it.
the end of the, pretty much the end of the season. You know, we're going to play a few more games this season, but it's been a really, really tough season, if I'm being honest. PGMOL war started early on us, and injuries took over toward the end of the season, toward the middle and latter part of the season. But we haven't been able to win 3 games in the Premier League in a row. And we got to 2 semifinals and not being able to have enough finishing power to get over the line in either one of them. So
Right, this is 3 years in a row where you haven't got past January on the domestic cup.
So Andrea Berta needs to go and sign that striker. We all want the striker. It could be Isak.
We don't need one though, right?
Only, well, you know, let's start with one, right?
But you've seen what I sent you, right? That Arteta.
Cheers, Tiger and Gunnar.
Arteta wants to take our false 9 last forward that's been up there. He wants to put Kai back into the midfield, which we know doesn't fucking work.
If we get a Jokers or an Isak, Kai Havertz is getting nowhere near the starting 11. You know, when we're playing the big teams. When we're playing the big teams. Stan, we're going to get out of here. What have you got to sign off with, Stan?
I just want to follow up on that. You know, obviously for me, you know, I think the crown jewel is Isak. If we don't get Isak, that's fine with me. But what will annoy me is if Isak leaves Newcastle and it's not Arsenal that gets him. Mm-hmm. If he stays at Newcastle, he stays at Newcastle.
Yeah,
we don't get him. But if he leaves Newcastle and let's say, for example, he goes to Liverpool, that's not going to sit well with me.
No,
me neither. You know what I mean? In the words of Uncle Junior, when when Mr. April wanted to take over from Tony, and he couldn't do it. Uncle Junior, what did he say? He just couldn't sell it. He couldn't sell it. He just couldn't sell it.
Okay.
Junior wanted him to be the next boss, but he just couldn't sell it. So if Isak, for me, he's the crown jewel. If he stays at Newcastle, fine. If he goes to Liverpool, I've got problems. I've got problems if he goes to Liverpool. Yeah. Therefore, for me, the next best in class is Victor.
Yeah. Victor Jokers. Yeah. Definitely. I mean, when it comes to Isak, you've got he's played with Mikel Merino before. He's played with Ødegaard before. And Andrea Berta from Atletico Madrid should have a relationship with Isak.
I know it's not FIFA, but if it was me and we're looking at those forward positions, we know that the money for Victor Gyökeres is lower than we thought it was.
Yeah.
That's why I'm putting the money down. That's why I'm putting the money down. But also, and I'm sure Moss is going to love this one as well, while I'm putting that money down for Victor, I'm also topping up Jonathan David on a free.
Yeah.
Giving him a signing on fee and a contract. And now I've got some variety. I've got variety and options.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't do that, you're an idiot. You buy a striker, put your money there, and you get Jonathan Davids on the free. You've got no. You're never going to have a situation where someone's playing in the red because you can move it around. Have trust. Oh, I mean,
you have a striker.
I know it's not FIFA.
Striker sitting on the bench.
It almost is. I mean,
yeah. You'll have Jonathan David sitting on the bench when Isak can play 65 minutes, full pelt, 65 minutes. Jonathan David can come in.
And you know, what if he goes through an Ødegaard patch?
Yeah.
Someone else.
Right.
You know, and you get to that situation where they don't go, oh, I know I'm playing shit this week, but I'll make it. They con themselves. I'll play better next week because in the back of their head, they know that they're the one that's going to get picked. If you know that you're not the first pick, if someone else is ready, you're going to do more.
Yeah. Yep.
Stan, you don't want to go for somebody like Nico Williams that you can get for $50 million to play on the wing.
I would rather take, if you're going to buy Nico Williams, right, to play in the left wing, I'd rather have either Rafinha or Rodrigo all day. One of them two. They're best in class.
But can't you get Rafinha too and be a backup?
Nico Williams not even close. And Nico Williams isn't coming to be a backup. He's not coming to be a backup. It's not happening.
Yeah, but he can be a starter on the left.
It's not happening. No.
Rafinha or somebody.
It has to be one or the other. You either buy a Rodrigo or a Nick. You can't. You know what I mean? But you can do it with an attacking situation with a Jonathan David and a Gyökeres, because you could have them playing in a team. You could have Jonathan David coming on the left and doing stuff, cutting into the middle. You have to remember, every time you pick up your phone before a match and you see the formation, that means shit. You know that, right? You know that's not how we play on the ball and off the ball. You know, it's not rigid. And I guarantee you, right, that whoever you look at when you look at the formation, find another 3 stations, right, that do the same thing, and I guarantee you, between 4 of them, you'll find a variation. It's never the same. Never the same. Or because Marino is in the midfield and Trossard is up front, well, is that where you think they stay? You're like, why isn't Marino up front? Well, because Marino's like that. Because on the thing that people, I'm in the middle, I can't venture into it. No, it's fluid. People change positions. It's bullshit.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that formation. It's got Trossard playing out the front. It doesn't mean that. It does not mean that. The players don't look at that and go, the players don't look at that and go, that's where I've got to be for 90 minutes. Guarantee you, Trossard is playing up into the midfield.
All right.
And Mourinho is up front.
Listen, I've enjoyed.
Me and Ray got pretty good at when we would do the pre-shows. We were pretty good at lining up the players where they were to play at.
Yeah. Stan, a good chat tonight. Listen, we gotta leave it there.
Listen, Ray, to be honest with you, do you know the reason why I'm still here and I could go to 5 hours? My missus flew to Toronto this morning, so I'm like in the house on my own. I've got no one else to talk to.
Isn't that where
cat? You got the cat to talk to.
She doesn't talk back.
That's where her family's at, right, Stan?
Yeah. Tony, listen, good. I enjoyed this tonight as well. Alonzo was here. Gary was here. There was quite a few people in the chat box. Hopefully, a few people. I know one of them eats their Weetabix whilst they're watching us in the morning. So, Gunnar Lamb, that's for you. Hopefully, you're still watching. Enjoyed this chat. And, listen, the long season coming to an end. With Arsenal, it's got to be, we got to have a big summer again. You know, blockbuster summer. You remember when you were a kid and you were looking forward to the movies coming out in the summer? They got to be good ones. Some good ones coming out in the summer, right?
I thought you was going into a what do you call it? A shine on you crazy diamond moment there. I was going to start going. Remember when you were young, shine like the sun. But there you go.
Very good, Stan. Very good. All right, we're out of here. Thanks, everybody. I really enjoyed this one. Slap a like on the way out. Don't be a freeloader. And thank you. Take care. We'll see you on the next one.
Cheers, everyone.